We've live Irish League football for you tonight on BBC Two and across the UK on the BBC iPlayer. The Oval in Belfast is the venue for the biggest rivalry in Northern Ireland football. Glentoran against Linfield, the battle of the big two, and both teams are unbeaten this season. Well, any meeting between these two teams is always a little bit special. Glentoran had the Derby bragging rights last season with 4 wins and a draw out of 6 Big Two encounters. But it was Linfield who won the league. Glentoran manager Declan Devine is trying to deliver a first championship to East Belfast since 2008. Linfield arrived determined to show exactly why they lifted the Gibson Cup last season. Their manager David Healy, who signed a new 3-year contract, has already led the club to 6 league titles. An intriguing contest is in store as Glentoran and Linfield clash for the first time this season. Kick-off is in just under 15 minutes' time. Well, this is the first game of a full weekend of action in the Sports Direct Irish Premiership. There are all the other games to come tomorrow. And this is how the table looks currently. Glentoran lead, 3 points clear of Coleraine, who've played a game less. Larne are third, Carrick fourth and Linfield in fifth, but they've only played 3 games due to their European commitments. Still, they have a maximum 9 points. Well, good evening. It's a chilly evening in East Belfast, but we're set for what is always a fascinating sporting fixture. I'm delighted to say, joining me pitchside, are former Ballymena and Linfield manager David Jeffrey and former Glentoran player Paul Lehman. Great to have you both here. Already a cracking atmosphere. Even though you're not involved anymore, do you still feel a buzz when it comes round to the big two, David?
Absolutely, Stephen. You know, I was saying earlier, I remember as a young boy coming here as a Linfield supporter. Obviously remember being here as a Linfield player and as a Linfield manager, and they were fantastic occasions. And I've got to say, even tonight in coming along, and thank you so much for the privilege of being part of this, there's still butterflies in the tummy.
How do you think this one's shaping up tonight, Paul?
Both teams have had a tremendous start, Stephen, particularly Glentoran, unbeaten so far, the best defensive record in the league, and the start that they would have wanted. You know, some players going over the summer, some new players coming in, and they've really hit the ground running. But I think for me, this is the biggest test that Glentoran have faced so far in Linfield tonight at the Oval. They've had a great record last season against them. Can they follow it up this season? Yeah,
David, Glentoran coming into this game with the bragging rights perhaps from last season because they had the upper hand in the matches. But Linfield finished 24 points in front of them in the league.
Yes, you know, Linfield were outstanding last year and were able to respond. Any time they were beaten or they had a difficult game, they responded tremendously well, and their consistency really shone so very much. Glentoran in these head-to-head games did very well. Linfield only won 1 of the 5 games that they played. So there will be very much that forefront in the Linfield players. They will want to try and put right what happened, you know, last year. You know, as I've said several times, I was part of the Linfield team that was beaten 7 times by Glentoran, and I remember the following season all we wanted to do was make sure we put that right. Glentoran have started tremendously well. You know, out of their 6 games played thus far, won 5, drawn 1. They've looked really, really impressive. Linfield have only played 3 because of their European commitments. They also have got off to, you know, a good start, so something's going to give tonight, but I'm looking forward to a first-class game.
And even when Linfield do win the league, for some reason quite often they can be judged on their performances in the big 2 games. It seems crazy, but these are the games, Paul, that can put pressure on either manager.
They really are, and you heard Declan Devine earlier speaking to him, and he was just saying he wants to send the people home happy, the people from East Belfast. So it means so much to the fans, the players. These are the games that the players want to be involved in. So they're games that you don't want to lose, and it's all about going out there, getting off to a really good start. I think this will be a fast and frantic game from certainly in the first 20 minutes.
Okay, let's hear from the Glentoran manager. Declan Devine is talking to Gavin Andrews.
Declan, top of the table, hosting the league champions. How significant is tonight?
It's a big game. It's a huge game. Ultimately, it's about 3 points, such early stages of the season. But the fixture means a lot to a lot of people. We're in a good run. We know the quality that Linfield possess and know that they'll come here under David and expect to win the game themselves. So we've got to be right from the start. We've got to make sure that our game plan's executed the way that we've worked on all week. But it's a brilliant game to be involved in. So early in the season, full house here at the Oval. 2 good teams going toe-to-toe, so let's enjoy it.
You've got a settled side. How big a plus is that?
Yeah, it's the same team again today, but we've also players coming back that will really enhance us and make us better. But as I said to the players, they're in possession of the jersey now. It's up to them to keep them. We've a very strong bench tonight with players itching to get on the pitch. All week the training's been a very high level, but we know when Linfield come to town, it's going to be a real battle. We got to make sure that we bring our A game tonight, and the players have been magnificent since the start of the season, but this is the next game, and this is all that matters.
It's a famous rivalry. How special a night is this for your fans?
It's huge, and we want to send them home happy. It's as simple as that. There's a lot of bragging rights. It's a long weekend. You don't want to be dwelling on negativity over the weekend, so it's in our hands now at the minute. We've got to give everything of ourselves to make sure that we send these people home happy, and hopefully they can help us along the way as well, because we certainly will need them tonight.
Well, kick-off this evening is scheduled for 7:45, but because of the size of the crowd and just some difficulties getting into the ground tonight, we're hearing that the kick-off may be delayed by 5 or 10 minutes. We'll keep you up to date with the information as we have it. I suppose it's a good problem for local football to have. That so many people want to come to the game here tonight. David, Declan Devine has spoken about restoring the glory days here in East Belfast. It's been a long time since they won a league championship. Do you feel the optimism that the fans are feeling, what he's been doing with this side?
Very much so, Stephen. I read an article which was quite insightful, where Declan talked about changing the perception of the club, particularly when he's looking to recruit players. He wanted to present the club in a different way. The players that he signed are most impressive. They are seasoned pros. They're ready to hit the ground running, and I can definitely sense a different atmosphere about the place. They're quietly going about their business, and the telling thing for me, he said, we've got a good, strong squad. If you're performing well and you've got the jersey, you'll keep the jersey. So certainly there is room for optimism.
Paul, how significant do you think it was they were able to get the club's top scorer last season, Jordan Jenkins, re-signed on a 2-year contract?
Yeah, listen, Jordan's been a revelation. He's a young player who he had to bide his time, let's just say, to get his position in the Glentoran team. He had spells at Portadown, and he had scored a lot of goals at Dundela in the Championship. Came to Glentoran, as I say, it took his time to get into the team. But last season, he was the player who produced the most goals for them. He took that weight on his shoulders. This season, they brought in Pat Hooban as a central striking partnership with Jordan Jenkins. I think that will be great for Jordan. But certainly, as a young player, he's been a revelation for Glentoran. He's got a really good record, and he's become a real fan's favourite here.
Yeah, you good player, David. Made a big impact.
Very impressive. I tell you what I loved about him, Stephen, the fact that he actually went away from Glentoran, to prove himself. Paul has said he was at Portadown, he was at Dundela. I think he might have even been at Ards as well. But he's come back this year and really looks a player and a half. Obviously, Hooban will help him big style with his experience. And I listened to an interview last week where Hooban talked about coming short. Jordan can go beyond. He has got blistering pace. So what he has done this year and his goal scoring thus far has been really impressive.
Declan Devine will be coming in with plenty of confidence. Team's made a good start to this season, Paul.
Yeah, it's the ideal start for him. Obviously, they dropped a couple of points here against Carrick, but Carrick they're in great form themselves, so that was a tough day for Glentoran. But as I said before, Declan, they've had a great start, but he knows that Linfield will be the ultimate test for Glentoran tonight. It will really let him see where his team's at. The league won't be won and lost tonight, but it's a massive game. There's so much at stake, and no one wants to lose it.
OK, Paul, David, thank you. Let's get the thoughts of the Linfield manager, David Healy's with Gavin.
David, 3 wins from 3, playing catch-up because of Europe. How big an opportunity is tonight?
Looking forward to the game. Listen, any time you play Glentoran, especially at the Oval, first and foremost the challenge. Glentoran have started the season really well. They seem to be probably a different animal this year, so we know the expectations, we know what we need to do, most importantly, and hopefully the game's won or lost on a proper football moment.
What's different about them this year?
Obviously the top end of the pitch. Jenkins started the season well. They've added Pat Hoban, Bert, Jordan Stewart. People like that at the top end of the pitch are always going to create problems for opposition defences. So we've obviously added 1 or 2 top end of the pitch. So we look excited to see what way that's going to play out tonight.
What's your message been to the boys coming into this cauldron?
To be prepared, stay calm, stay focused, and it's important. Myself and obviously Decky and the staff, because it doesn't take much in a Big 2 game to get the emotions flying about. So we'll need to be careful. But again, you need to play with an edge. You always need an edge when you come here. It's important in any game, but most importantly when you come to the Oval, that you play with an edge.
Yeah, so the kick-off this evening will be delayed for at least a few minutes, possibly up to 10 minutes. Just while the crowds make their way through the tiny streets here in East Belfast. The Oval, of course, is right in the heart of the community. David Jeffrey, David Healy talking there about his side needing an edge, and there always is one when it comes to a Big 2 game, but it's something that's needed, an edge in these matches.
Of course it is. It's absolutely vital that there's an edge to it. You're coming against your biggest rivals, and both from a Glentoran perspective and from a Linfield perspective. I know when I came out here as manager and would have walked across and applauded obviously our own supporters, I made sure that the Glentoran supporters saw that, just to have everybody ready for the get-go. So there's nothing wrong with an edge in this game, Stephen.
And how significant do you think Kieran Offord will be to this Linfield team tonight? How key is he?
He has done tremendously well over this last period. Kieran obviously was excellent at Crusaders. Linfield were able to get a signature. He, alongside Matthew Fitzpatrick, Stephen, have been very, very impressive. They almost came together by accident, because Linfield maybe traditionally would have played one through the middle and men wide, where when they brought Kieran and Matthew together, what a force. He works his socks off. He's physically very strong. He's an excellent finisher. His aptitude and attitude is first class. And as I say, along with Matthew Fitzpatrick, they are very much a potent fire force.
Yeah, they're a good partnership, Paul, aren't they?
Yeah, Fitzpatrick, the amount of work that he gets through, he's selfless for the team, and he may be criticised for not scoring enough goals, but the work that he gets through for Linfield, he's such a valuable player for him. As David said, it's become a really good partnership now. I was really impressed with Kieran Offord, his spell at Crusaders. He scored a few goals against the Glen, so he's definitely going to be a threat. He's someone that Glentoran know they've really got to be wary of. He works so hard up there, and as I say, he probably, similar to we were talking about Jordan Jenkins, had to bide his time. He didn't play a lot of football at the end of last season, but this season he's really hit the ground running. Kieran Offord has been a key player for them.
And Paul, in terms of Matthew Fitzpatrick, there were those who maybe didn't appreciate his work until he wasn't in the side, and suddenly they said, boy, I remember one of the games when listening to supporters on the way out, we didn't have big Fitzpatrick tonight, and it almost takes a player to be unavailable, for supporters then to appreciate the contribution that they make.
And I think the biggest compliment for him is that when he was out of the team, his teammates really missed him, so that they know
absolutely.
his value.
Good news is the teams will be on their way very shortly, so kick-off just delayed by a few minutes. Both of these teams have very strong defences, and I suppose we're hoping, David, that they don't kind of cancel each other out tonight and we can get an entertaining game.
We are. You know, the last thing we want is a nil each after picking the game up. We have been there before. But when you see the attacking prowess that both sides have, I cannot see this being a scoreless game. I'm hoping very much and expecting, actually, you know, certainly maybe 2 goals apiece, maybe 3-2 to one or other of them. But I surely to goodness we can't have a night like tonight and have a scoreless draw.
I hope not. Home advantage, how much benefit is that, do you think, to Glentoran, Paul?
Yeah, it is, and I think reading some of the statistics today, they're unbeaten in the last 7 against Linfield here at the Oval, so Glentoran have made this place a fortress against Linfield, maybe not so much against other teams last season. The big problem Glentoran had last season here, they didn't score enough goals at the Oval. I think it was only 17 the whole season, so that's something that they'll be looking to address. That's something that they've done so far this season with that partnership of Houban and Jenkins. So yeah, the Oval can become a fortress. It's going to be a massive atmosphere and a huge game of football.
The roar said it all. The teams are on their way. Now at half-time we'll be discussing the fallout from the Northern Ireland Football Fund announcement yesterday, when 20 clubs were revealed as being successful applicants for the stadia funding. But first, it is the clash of the big two for the first time this season. Enjoy the first half in the commentary of Philip Lowry and Thomas Kane.
Thank you very much, Stephen. On a weekend when Belfast hosts a world title boxing fight at Windsor Park, 2 of local football's heavyweights go toe-to-toe in the east of the city. Glentoran have packed the punch against their bitter rivals in the past, but there's no disputing that Linfield have had the upper hand. Let's look at the 2 starting lineups. It's the settled Glentoran side, given their form. Mills has conceded just once in the league. New signings Cooney and Larmour have adapted well to life at the Oval. Singleton Kelly missed a lot of last season, while Patrick Houban, another summer arrival, was top scorer in the League of Ireland 4 times. Chris Johns has re-established himself as #1 for David Healy's side this season. Sean Brown has started 4 of the last 5. Kyle McLean makes his 200th Linfield appearance alongside former Glenavon midfielder Isaac Bird. Kieran Offord, the danger man, has found the net 7 times already this season. Ben McMaster, the match referee. It's the first time he has taken charge of this contest. Big match feel it always is when these 2 clubs go head to head. Philip O'Larry alongside me. Philip, we can talk about atmosphere in this game, we can talk about bragging rights. You've experienced it. What's it like to be on the pitch for moments like this?
Good evening, first of all, Thomas, and good evening to everyone at home. It's, as you say, it's an unbelievable atmosphere tonight. Packed stadium, and slightly jealous I'm not down there myself, I have to say, watching on, but unbelievable. And 2 teams who come into the game in brilliant form. Glentoran have had a really strong start, look really impressive, and this I suppose will be the acid test for them tonight against the champions Linfield.
2 of the 3 unbeaten sides in local football. Early tester for Brown. Houban. Clash between Brown and Single. Miller lifts it forward to the duo of Fitzpatrick and Offord. Offord in behind. Still Kieran Offord. Only one thing in his mind. Good stop from the feet of Mills, though. And that's Kieran Offord in a nutshell. 100%.
We were just saying that before the game. You look at that Glentoran back 3. They're all defenders who want to go up against the man and be physical, but they may struggle against the pace of Offord, and it just showed there. Fantastic running behind, but I have to say it would be remiss not to mention that nutmeg from Kirk Miller, one of the best pieces of skill you'll see all season.
Good start from the visitors. Miller's cross is blocked. It's Hall who fires at goalwards. Flick from Offord doesn't work out. Hat-trick against Dungannon Swifts already this season. Kieran Offord hit the winner against Cliftonville. Very impressive as well in Europe.
Yeah, he'll be absolutely delighted with that opening passage of play, because all day he'll have been probably told by David Healy, just running behind against that back 3. That's what I want to see all evening, and 1 minute in he's already got a bit of joy there.
McElhaney towards Houban, such an imposing figure at the top of the pitch for Glentoran.
interesting to see both teams matching up. It looks like a back three for both teams, and really interesting the two front twos. It's almost a carbon copy, isn't it? And Hubin and Fitzpatrick, two target men, will be the foil for Jenkins, for Glentoran, and obviously offered for Linfield. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out this evening.
20-year-old Sean Brown made the switch from Larne over the summer. Just 8 appearances for Larne, but must be really pleased with how he started his Linfield career. David Healy hasn't been afraid to throw him into the heat of battle in those big European ties. Now experiencing his first derby game. Baird in a similar position, having made a switch late in the window from Glenavon. There's a long ball, it's far too close to Chris Johns. Not wasting any time. McCullough. Baird's the player furthest forward in the blue of Linfield.
It's been a big show of faith, hasn't it, from David Healy with Isaac Baird. Obviously came to the club very late in the transfer window from Glenavon, but he's played all 3 games and looks adept in there.
Provides legs around the middle of the pitch as well. There is David Healy. Celebrates a decade in charge of Linfield in a month's time. 6 league titles during that tenure. Signed a new deal over the summer. Away by Hall. Amos. So impressive last season, having across from England, very experienced left back. Decent ball in. First ball is dealt with and flicked on by Baird. First touch for Josh Kelly, and a difficult one for the goalkeeper to deal with. Don't think he particularly appreciated that back pass, but it's given away to Fitzpatrick. Massive chance for Linfield, and it was all of Glentoran's making.
Huge chance for Fitzpatrick there. I don't think he realised as much time as he actually had. I don't think the goalkeeper thanking Josh Kelly for the back pass put him in trouble, and that's a crazy pass from Marcus Keane, you have to say. And Fitzy will want that one back, won't he? He should definitely, at minimum there, be hitting the target. And you have to say Glentoran have got away with one there.
Fitzpatrick has scored 4 times this season. Mentioned how good Glentoran have been defensively this campaign. Andrew Mills did get a few opportunities in cup competitions last season, but was very much behind Glentoran's player of the year, Daniel Jolie, battling for that #1 shirt, and it's 2 huge chances in opening 4.5 minutes for the league champions. Still scoreless though at the Oval.
Glentoran just need to settle down a bit. It hasn't been a brilliant start from them, turning over possession very quickly. Obviously they're looking to get the ball forward to Hubin and Jenkins, but it's just going back to front very quickly, and they're just handing possession back to Linfield early on.
Jenkins trying to close down Brown, playing on the right side of that defence. Very versatile player, Sean Brown. Now it's back. The ball and across to East. Not playing in his traditional full-back berth, has filled in as a centre-back on a number of occasions as well, which has allowed David Healy to bring in McCullough on that left-hand side. Cooney tries to usher it out of play, and the throw-in goes away of Glentoran. Ryan Cooney joined from Crewe over the summer, started every single minute of Glentoran's 7 games in the domestic season. Paddy McCourt, Tim McCann alongside Declan Devine in the Glentoran dugout. Hubin tries to play it round the corner for Jenkins.
And already you can see, can't you, what Hubin brings to the team. Physically he looks very imposing, strong, takes the ball and wants to bring his teammates into play, and players like that are a midfielder's dream when you know when it's played up that it's sticking and it's not going to just come straight back.
34 now, Hubin, the Dogs record goal scorer, had success in a number of other League of Ireland clubs before the switch to Derry City, and now on to the Oval. Here he is in the centre circle. Classy play from the Galway man who wants it back. Come deep to receive that ball. Didn't receive it on that occasion.
Better from Glentoran, just being a bit patient, keeping the ball, making Linfield move.
Offord doesn't give up on that block, and he's not afraid to try and take on Palmer. Gets past the first couple of players, still Offord on that right foot. McLean was running across the eye line of the goalkeeper, who I think got a touch in it. Offord, the man in form, showing just why.
He said it was good play from Glentoran. It was actually then a really, really sloppy pass, played themselves into trouble, and he looks electric, doesn't he, Offord? He looks bang up for it. Every time he gets the ball, he looks like something might happen, and that's 3 big sights at goal Linfield have had in the opening 8 minutes.
First corner kick of the game. Miller. Hall had made it a decent run, and I think he was the player closest to the corner kick. It's going to be the same again from the other side, I think.
Usual delivery from Kirk Miller, bang on the money, and it was actually really good defending. I'm not sure who it was at the back post for Glentoran there. Maybe Marcus Keane got up well, and it was a vital intervention.
Throw in for Linfield in the near side. Baird. Backs into Kelly. Still manages to find a way past him, but it drifts over the end line. Carrick Rangers, the only team to take points off Glentoran so far this season, in that 1-1 draw here at the Oval. East Belfast club finished 3rd in the last campaign, but did miss out on Europe via the playoffs. 24 points behind their rivals in the league as Linfield cruised to another title. But we were actually looking at it before kick-off, and you talk about the transition at Glentoran. The game back in April, the last encounter between these two sides, I think of the teams playing today, only 3 of the Glentoran players started that game, only 5 of the Linfield players did. So it's a big change for both clubs.
It definitely is, and so many new players have come in, and Declan Devine, his credit, seems got them gelled well early on, and you can see what they're trying to do. Glentoran, they're not a team that'll play through the lines, really. They're not look to draw Linfield on them as such. They're very much get it forward to the 2 target men, get the midfield runners off them, pick up second balls and try and sustain possession. But so far it's just been a wee bit scrappy from them. They haven't really got the grips with Linfield, who've been able to establish situations, I guess, where Chris Johns can put his foot in the ball and get Linfield up the pitch.
But how costly could those 3 opportunities be in the important context of this game? McCullough has had to be very patient at Windsor Park. Starts few and far between for the left side defender.
Yeah, again, Glentoran just aimless, really, isn't it? It's just not really. I think they're probably just getting a wee bit tiny caught up in the occasion. Just massive crowd in, obviously big expectations, having made a good start, and it's just a bit frantic at the minute.
Does that surprise you, given the form that they're in? I know we're only 10 minutes in, but you know, you look at the statistics going into this game. Defensively very strong, scoring goals, top of the table, only half a dozen games in. And Declan Devine has been trying to perhaps get across the message. Look, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Definitely, and you know, the guys alluded to it before the game. Glentoran had a fantastic record last year against Linfield, but still ended up, 24 points, and that probably says more about their mentality than anything. That they've shown on occasions that they can up their game and beat anyone on their day, but over the course of the season haven't been able to sustain it, and that'll be the big challenge, won't it, for Declan Devine and his backroom team, is that consistency week in, week out. When the chips are down, there's injuries, there's suspensions, it's chalking off the wins, and I think most Glentoran supporters really, they just at the turn of the year, they want to be just there, don't they? Thereabouts, 2-3 points off the top, so they can put a sustained challenge together and really give it a rattle come April, May time.
Probably not in the last couple of seasons they've perhaps been in that position, but it's been after Christmas that they've really fallen off. You think back to that Irish Cup game here when Thorndyke scored the winner after extra time, and at that point Glentoran were in with the hunt of winning 4 trophies potentially at the end of the season, with 1 the County Antrim Shield, and as I've already mentioned, missed out in European competition away by Lorma, straight to Eastham.
Glentoran happy to let Linfield have it round the back. I thought they would maybe be a bit higher up and engage Linfield's back three as they make the pitch big, but almost just fill each other out in this early stage.
Flicked on by Fitzpatrick. McElhinney comes across, and there's a breakdown in communication between himself and the goalkeeper, and you can see McElhinney having a word with Palmer to get that point across.
More nervy defending, wasn't it, from Glentoran? No one there willing to take charge.
Baird. This has been a tactic on a couple of occasions from Linfield throw-ins this time. It results in a corner kick. Linfield playing their 13th game of the season, the 14th if you include the Charity Shield. Had that run in European competition. As it comes in from East, goalkeeper doesn't make it. Did it hit off a defender's head? Yes, it did in the near post area, and that could have ended up anywhere.
You're correct there. It's an excellent left-footed delivery, and again, looks like the keeper breakdown in communication between defender and goalkeeper, and Glentoran get away with another one. And you have to say Linfield are knocking at the door, and there's only so many opportunities that they'll pass up before they put one in the net.
It was Jenkins at the near post who got the touch. All the usual suspects forward. Again, it's a top-class delivery. Again, Hall was a target. And anywhere will do from Glentoran's point of view right now. They're holding on a little bit. Linfield turning the screw against their rivals.
Excellent defensive header there from Shane McElhinney. A header he absolutely had to make. As you say, we say it every time, don't we, when we're on commentary about Kirk Miller's deliveries, but he's put 2 or 3 in already, and bang on the money as usual.
Alford comes short this time. Amos got a toe to it, but it's back with Linfield and Shields. Marcus Keane, the season campaigner, hooks it clear. Hooban adjudged to have fouled his former teammate Chris Shields. Obviously know each other very well from their time at Dundalk.
Chris Shields does that so well, doesn't he? Just patrols in front of that defensive shape, gets his body and wins his side the free kick.
Brown back to McLean. Brown had the better angle. Flicked off the head of Cooney, I think it was, and it works out this time for Jenkins. Can he provide a little bit of energy, referee? Thought he was going to play advantage momentarily and then brings it back for the free kick. I think Ben McMaster actually did play advantage, but Glentoran didn't quite realise it, and Hooban stopped at that point.
It looked like Brown actually got a toe to the ball on that occasion, but Ben McMaster obviously a lot closer than I am, and to be fair to Hooban, I think he was completely on his own there, wasn't he? I think that's why Ben blew it up, as there was no real advantage.
One in the air by Miller. Kelly, so unfortunate last season. I think he got injured in the first week of the campaign. McCullough does really well, and advantage certainly is played this time because Linfield have it. Fitzpatrick to McLean. Plenty of blue shirts forward. McLean still tries to get a shot in, and it's gathered by Mills. And it's all Linfield right now. There's going to be a booking for the initial challenge by Kelly. And this is what evolved after.
Yeah, again, it's really static defending from Glentoran, you have to say. It looks reactive rather than proactive, and it looked like the chance had gone from McLean there, and he just kept going and picked up the second ball. But I don't think Josh Kelly can have any complaints either about the tackle. McCullough just dispossessed Cooney again, who was lazy in possession, you have to say. McCullough started the game really well down that left-hand side, and Josh Kelly it was a challenge he had to make. Unfortunately, mistimed it, but Glentoran just haven't got started, you have to say. We're 16 minutes into the game, and the game's been played entirely in their half. You can see there's a bit of an inquest going on there with Cooney and his defenders, but I think they just need to get a bit more proactive. They need to move a bit more. It seems all reactionary. Linfield are the team on the front foot. They're looking to make things happen, and just look like Glentoran are a bit caught in the headlights at man.
And probably the only criticism from David Healy's point of view is that he thought with all those opportunities in the opening quarter of an hour's team should be ahead in this game.
Definitely. And how many times have we watched football matches where teams are in the ascendancy and they have a number of chances and all of a sudden they're hit with a sucker punch? So Glentoran just need to look at their senior players, Marcus Kane, Singleton down the spine, Pat Hubin, and just get them together, get closer, get the distances correct, because at the minute they just look very stretched and Linfield are first to everything.
Ball wins it ahead of Jenkins, picked up by Kelly. Good footwork from Palmer, former Linfield player, and now it's Linfield are going to concede the free kick. A little bit of afters between Palmer and Baird, but it was the initial challenge from Shields is penalised. And it's one of the first opportunities that Glentoran have to try and threaten in the final third. Amos stands over. Hooven currently in an offside position. Away by Bird, but should be recycled over the far side by Cooney, I think it is. Throw in.
He done well in the corner yet. Dan Larmour actually. It's a chance for Glentoran to get their big men up. And physically they are a very imposing side. They have a lot of really strong players and they'll be hoping to just get an entry into Linfield's box and try and create something, because as we say, this is probably the first venture that they had and we're 18 minutes into the game.
Kane flicks it on. Jenkins on the turn, pays for a penalty, and then the effort afterwards is deflected over the top by Single.
That's encouraging for Glentoran. We said that's really their strength. It's asking questions of the opposition's defence. It's putting balls in there. Certainly no penalty in that occasion. I think Brown hands at his side. We'll see it again here. Good initial flick. They don't clear it. And his hands are... Who knows what a handball is now, but to me they look close enough to his body there, even though it maybe did strike an arm. But Ben McMaster was well positioned. Another chance for Glentoran to reload.
First flurry we've seen from the home side, having soaked up so much pressure. Penalty! And a big chance for Glentoran. It was Singleton who got his toe to it, I think. There was contact from Miller, who was actually trying to clear the ball himself. And the home team have been awarded a spot kick.
Yeah, it's Kirk Miller. And Daniel Larmour wins the first ball, and he lets it bounce, Kirk Miller, and looks like there's minimal contact there. The referee, you have to say, could not have been in a better position. Slightly hesitant, you have to say, from Kirk Miller, wasn't it, initially? Just when you let the ball bounce in your box, you open yourself to that opportunity, and we would need to see it again, possibly, to see the contact, but the referee was extremely well positioned, and it's over to Pat Hubin.
Nobody had a better view of it than the referee, Ben McMaster. Patrick Hubin, Glentoran's number 9, against Christopher Johns. Hubin scores, 5th of the season. Glentoran up and running, having soaked up all of that early Linfield pressure.
It never looked in doubt, you have to say. He looks a player banging confidence. And we mentioned Glentoran haven't been in Linfield's box and they find themselves 1-0 up, but that's what they're good at, hitting the ball in areas. And you can see there, I always go off the players' reaction, and Linfield players didn't protest it that heavily, you have to say. And even after the ball went in the net, they just, retreated straight away to the half lane, and they didn't really get in Ben McMaster's ear there. And what a start to that man's Glentoran career, and there's no better feeling for a Glentoran player, I'm sure, than scoring against Linfield, and he's endeared himself to these fans.
He's become a fan favourite. After less than a month, he came here with a big reputation, but he's already started to deliver. Patrick Hubin. And midway through this first half, Glentoran take the lead.
And we called it, we said how many times you see teams not take their opportunities, and an entry into your box, ball's not cleared, and you find yourself 1-0 down. David Healy will be really disappointed, but credit to Glentoran. We mentioned they needed to just batten the hatches down and get the senior players together, and they're in a really strong position now.
McCullough has a go from a long way out. David Healy will probably pointed the initial free kick just before that that period of pressure that he felt went against him. It was a little bit scrappy after that, and all of a sudden his Linfield side are behind.
And I always feel that Glentoran are always a team who really should score in first. They're really good at just maintaining the shape, and they've got players that can hurt you on the break, especially Jenkins obviously in behind, so massive advantage to Glentoran. As we see Hooben leaving one on Ben Hall, and that's a yellow card. I have to say, it did look like he did catch him with a flailing arm, and physically, as we said, he looks like an absolute specimen, doesn't he? He leads the line and he occupies that back three on his own.
Yeah, not the tallest player, but physically obviously very strong.
Yeah, Ben Hall felt all that elbow there, but to be honest, it was totally innocuous. I don't think there was anything malicious in that. It's just centre forward play, and unfortunately caught his man.
There's confirmation of the yellow card. Well, referees tend to be busy in this fixture. 6 games last season, there were 34 yellow cards. They had a couple in this opening 23 minutes. Brown brushes off Jenkins. Can Linfield react? It's the first goal they've conceded so far this season, obviously playing catch-up because of their European exploits. This is only their 4th game of the season in the league. It's Glentoran 7th. McLean. One thing about this Linfield side is they certainly won't panic, given all the quality that they have. All looks for McCullough over on the far side. Sheens well positioned as always, and it's won back by Palmer. McElhaney, if you're just joining us, Linfield had a couple of really good efforts in goal from Offord, and a massive chance for Fitzpatrick as well. They weren't able to convert any of them, and at the other end, Glentoran starved of possession, won the penalty kick, and now the lead.
You have to say it's got pretty frantic since the goal. There's big gaps in that midfield area. Game seems quite stretched, but as we see Chris Shields taking it on the back foot as he does so often, and just keeps Linfield ticking. And this man's got plenty of joy in the first half for Linfield. Glentoran seem to be struggling with who should be out engaging him from that midfield three.
McCullough back to East. Fitzpatrick's in the middle. Instead, he's trying to find a run of his fellow Scotsman off it. Amos. Jenkins should get there. Just Palmer in the middle. It's behind him. Cooney's arriving. Back to Palmer. Other corner kick blocked by his former teammate Shields. Linfield had numbers back, but couldn't stop the Glentoran attack. Good patience initially from Jenkins, and you can see in that shot plenty of blue shirts. I'm going to arrive with Palmer. He was closed down by Shields. Palmer won a couple of titles during his time at Windsor Park. His only goal for Glentoran was actually against Linfield last season in a 3-1 victory. I think McCullough is going to be brought across to receive attention, so Linfield temporarily down to 10.
Good opportunity again for Glentoran to load the box, and we mentioned Kirk Miller on one side, but Amos equally is adept at set pieces with that left foot.
And you've also mentioned the height, the likes of Larmour and McElhaney, a real threat too, right on top of the goalkeeper. Cleared by Offord. Cooney skips past Offord, not put under any pressure at all, and then fires it towards Kane, who wins it once again in the air. Martin's Kane on the verge of 450 games for Glentoran. Linfield back to their full complement as Glentoran defenders all get a touch.
And you can tell that the goal's just completely settled Glentoran down, hasn't it? Decision making's improved immeasurably. Confidence looks like it's gone up a couple of notches. People wanting the ball, wanting to get things moving and make things happen. And that's what goals can do.
Brown's looking for movement. Finds Fitzpatrick, who wins a free kick.
It's a great battle, isn't it? We mentioned Houben on one side, Fitzpatrick on the other. Two target men will always make themselves available, try and take the ball in, bring others into play. And the guys were mentioning before the game, Fitzpatrick's one of those players that you don't really appreciate until he's not there. And I think he won the Player of the Year for Linfield last year, and that just shows you how high a esteem he's held in when they played in the same team as Joel Cooper.
Fitzpatrick, the target for that McLean free kick. Fitzpatrick actually ended up missing the Irish Cup game here at the Oval when Linfield went out of the competition after extra time. Playing up alongside Kieran Offord in that Linfield attack.
And we mentioned it'll now suit Glentoran better because they can afford to sit in, and that'll obviously deny the space for Offord to run in behind, because that's where his threat is. That's his bread and butter. He'll look to do that all day, and if Glentoran can just drop that slightly bit deeper now and deny him the space in behind, and Linfield will have to find alternative ways to open the door.
5 games tomorrow in the Sports Direct Premiership. Declan Devine, I'm sure he'll be keeping across all of them. Carrick Rangers, Bangor, Cliftonville, Ballymena, Dungannon Swifts, Crusaders, Larne Glenavon and Portadown Coleraine. You can stay up to date with all of them on the BBC Sport Northern Ireland website, and of course on Sports Sound on Radio Ulster and on BBC Sounds. Houben uses that strength to such good effect. Almost arrived at the Oval with a feeling that he'd a point to prove, Patrick Houben.
The only thing that's probably surprised me about Houben's performance is he's dropping very deep, isn't he? There's occasions where he's coming even deeper than his own midfield, and given the standard of his hold-up play, you kind of wonder if he could do it 30-40 yards up, but certainly he looks a class act any time he takes the ball in. It looks really, really safe, doesn't it?
Way back, McElhaney. Daniel Larmour, another one of the summer rivals, made the switch from Seaview. Jordan Stewart made a big impact at the start of the season, back from injury, but hasn't been able to force his way into the lineup. That's probably a reflection of how Glentoran have been playing. Massive overhaul here at the club over the summer months. David Fisher still not back from injury yet. Joe Thompson not too far away, and the suspended players as well, and Connolly and Pattison after that high-profile incident against Larne at the conclusion of last season.
And that's what Declan Devine alluded to, didn't he, in his pre-match interview, that they've had a really, really good start, but probably the encouraging thing for him is, you mentioned the players that they have in reserve to come back and make an impact.
Liam Burton, another player so highly rated as Baird, sees his effort go over the top.
It was ambitious from Baird, wasn't it? It just found its way, used his body really well to roll Cammy Palmer and just over the bar on that occasion. And we mentioned David Haley's shown a lot of faith in that young man. He burst on the scene, didn't he, with Glenavon those number of years ago, and really high expectations for him. And I think he had a real bad injury, didn't he, that he's made his way back from, and it's great to see him get a big move and to be playing on the big occasion here.
Certainly looks very comfortable in that midfield, hasn't looked overawed. Usually there's a degree of a betting in period when you join a club like Linfield or Glentoran, given the expectation, but Isaac Bird thrown right into the fire. Houben. Lovely touch from Miller.
That's a ball that's been on all night. The left wing back has got out countless times.
McCulloch charging forward, and now it's McLean. Pass a little bit overhead towards Fitzpatrick, and after that initial flurry, it hasn't quite clicked for Linfield.
No, and they've just started forcing a few passes, haven't they? And you've seen Kirk Miller, he was berating Kyle McLean on that occasion. He just made a lovely run in off the touchline and was in a lovely little pocket of space, but McLean on that occasion just overhit the pass. But as you say, since the Glentoran goal, Linfield, they've lost their way slightly, haven't they? They've been guilty of trying to force things when the simple pass has been on. Again, there's the space. I keep saying it, but Glentoran got very, very narrow. If Linfield can work it down that left-hand side, they've got a clear overload, but when it goes in that occasion, they can't seem to get it worked through the thirds.
Cooney's very, very high up the pitch, dead up there. Is that Larmer, who was backtracking as Glentoran tried to adapt. There is Shane McElhinney, brother Patrick, obviously playing at Ballymena United. Two former Derry City players. Just over half an hour played here in East Belfast. Patrick Hubin's penalty separating the two sides. Larmer manages to get it away, but only at the expense of a Linfield throw-in. Linfield 3 wins from 3 going into this game. That penalty was the first one they conceded in the league. Glentoran 5 wins from 6 and just the 1 goal conceded before today, that drawn match against Carrick Rangers. Brown. Baird tries to take it down, but it's closed down by Jenkins. The pair would have been teammates at Glenavon a few years ago. As it's flicked forward. Amos's time to just let it drift out of play. Didn't want to panic in that situation.
It's pretty scrappy from Linfield again, isn't it? It was a poor pass from Shields initially into the air, and a breakdown of communication there in the press, and Glentoran were able to get out easily.
Fitzpatrick looking to link up with Offer. So dangerous in the opening 10 minutes of this game. Miller on the right foot, half blocked. Gathered by Mills. 5 clean sheets out of 6 this season. 10 campaigns he spent in Sweden with 4 different clubs. Andrew Mills.
Big boots to fill, didn't he, with the performances of Dan Jolai last year. From playing against him, I have to say, I thought he was absolutely awesome, Jolai, and Mills just came in and he couldn't have asked for a better start, really, could he? As you mentioned, he's only conceded 1 goal in the league to Paul Heatley, who's probably scored against hundreds of goalkeepers in the last 10 or 15 years, but certainly he looks a secure #1 for Glentoran.
And he had to bide his time here at the Oval. He was given an opportunity in cup competitions last season, but when it came to the big games, Jolai came back, and probably the biggest compliment you can play Andrew Mills is that the supporters here aren't talking about Jolai and how good a goalkeeper was, given the way that Mills has performed. But it was a season of, or a summer, sorry, of a transition and turnover. There's the Linfield #1 right now, Christopher Johns, who himself had a spell out of the team, replaced by David Walsh for the second half of last season, but has regained that jersey at the start of this campaign. It's a good idea as Johns quickly comes off his line to stop the run of Cooney. He does like to get up from full-back. McLean does get the decision. Slight hesitancy from Ben McMaster before signalling for the free kick.
Yeah, McLean, again, another player who missed a lot of football last year, and not an awful lot in that from Daniel Larmer. But as we see Cooney, who, as you mentioned, he's been in the thick of things. It's probably been down that side for both teams is where the positives have been. If he's slightly overloading on one occasions, but other times he looks like, you know, he can be a threat moving forward as Miller whips this one in.
McLean can't get there. Oh, he has actually got there. Glentoran aren't happy with it. They felt that the touch was after it had gone out of play, but Miller adamant. Here's another look at it.
Looks like he got it right. I think it came off Cooney's knee just before it crossed the line.
Well, there's plenty of controversy in Linfield's last game with the so-called ghost goal.
I didn't want to bring it up.
Miller waits. Run towards the near post from McCullough. Pulled back instead towards Offord. It was a training ground move, well read though by Cammy Palmer. Hoopin. Super ball looking for Jenkins, but credit to Chris Johns, who's come a long way off his line to force it forward to Fitzpatrick. Lovely play by Hoopin, but equally impressive from Johns to get off his line and close down Jenkins. McLean. Cut out by the first defender, McElhinney, and another free kick. It's got a little bit scrappy at times in that midfield area. Referee let the first free kick be taken quickly and then shows the yellow to Isaac Bird shortly afterwards.
You mentioned there, it had got quite scrappy. It was actually really good play from Chris Johns initially there. It was a fantastic ball by Hoopin, and you can see quick free kick clicking by Singleton, and that's a yellow card all day long. And Josh Kelly, who himself has been booked on the receiving end of that one. In your first Big 2 derby being on a yellow card, it'll be a long 45 minutes in the second half for Isaac Baird, especially in that engine room where we know things are so competitive and so physical. And the part and parcel is just making tackles, but you'll have to be very careful.
McElhinney clips it towards Hoopin. There have been times in this game when the midfield's almost been bypassed.
I was just about to say it's been going over the midfield's head a lot. Both teams almost go back to front too quickly, you would have to say, on occasion. When it actually is on to play through at times, but I think that comes with the occasion sometimes. When it's a big crowd, there's a lot at stake. You can just go forward and think we'll get off the second balls, but it is on to play for both teams.
Amos. Brilliant delivery again.
What a ball.
Headed away by Sheets. Hoopin brings it back to his left-hand side. Amos has another goal, but this time it's cut out by the first defender, Hall. McLean. Kester for Larmer with Fitzpatrick breathing down his neck. Keeps the pressure on, and well, his presence forced a mistake. You can see Declan Levine trying to get his players organised. He's straight outside his technical area. He knows how important a time in the game this is. Would love to go into the break one ahead.
And Larmer showed a really good turn of pace on that occasion.
Declan Levine wants his players further up the pitch. Pegged back a little bit at the moment, but they have that 1-0 advantage thanks to Patrick Hoopin's penalty kick.
The message now, isn't it, for Glentoran is just to get the half time. Still in the lead. Say they look content to just stay in their shape, keep the ball in front of them, and ask Linfield to make, come up with that piece of quality. But Glentoran have looked really comfortable since they went ahead.
Stark contrast to what happened before that. 3 early opportunities for Linfield. As the skipper Kane once more looks for Hoopin. Back with Marcus Keane. Hall gets there first. Hasn't perhaps been as much fluency in both teams' possession in the last 10-minute period. David Healy watches on. We'll be considering what he's going to say in the dressing room. McLean. 4 Linfield players in the box. But it's a patient build-up from the champions. There is a delivery. skids off the head of McLean, and Amos gets her next. Look how far Linfield have pushed up. It's exactly the point I think that Declan Devine was trying to make these players.
I think that's a fair point from Devine. The ball's gone up to him a number of times, and the midfield three of Glentoran, Singleton and Palmer in particular, who would probably be expected to join, just haven't really got as far up as they would have liked.
Come back to the spacing that you were referring to earlier. Glentoran almost welcoming on Linfield in the last few minutes of this first half. Offered. Takes on Amos. Driven in low. And away, but only as far as Shields, and it's more pressure from Linfield. Brown. Muscled out of it by Singleton.
You can see Declan Devine going crazy down there for his team, just very deep on that occasion, just didn't get up to the ball anywhere quick enough. And James Singleton, as we've seen so many times over the years, so good in 1v1 situations, used all his experience there just to shepherd the ball out.
Mills just readjusts the goal kick, and it's interesting, there was a conversation there between Jordan Stewart and Declan Devine. Stewart went into the dressing room. I wonder if he's been given the nod that he might be coming on in the second half. There was certainly dialogue there, and there was a nod of the head from Stewart, so who knows whether he's been given an extra couple of minutes in the dressing room or he's been ready for an arrival after the break. East back to Johns. Cooney. Jenkins hasn't really had much of a chance in front of goal. Can he make something happen here? Super delivery, and it was Hooben in the middle. He couldn't get a touch.
Outstanding play from Jenkins. You mentioned it, Thomas. He hasn't really featured in those situations at all in this first half. Ball came out to him on the left-hand side. Just edged Brown up 1v1. That's an unbelievable delivery. And we said hoping he's been quite isolated at times. And again, I would have liked to have seen another midfielder maybe breaking the box there. You can see just Hooben was the only guy in the box and evaded him on that occasion. But positive from Glentoran.
Entering the final minute of this first half. Glentoran haven't created too many clear-cut opportunities, but are ahead with the break approaching. McCullough's throwing, seems to have recovered from that earlier knock. Well won there by Kelly. Single, already key player in the Glentoran dressing room, identified by Declan Devine, and probably like Fitzpatrick, it was when he wasn't there, his presence was felt even more. 2 minutes of additional time at the end of the 45. Amos. Cleared by McElhinney, who's going into this game after a slightly nervy start. A bit like Glentoran have. And they're trying to play a little bit of keep ball in injury time. Nice touch from Jenkins, but the ball across the sideline. Brown. Can Linfield find an equaliser in first half injury time? Not from that crossfield ball. Here come Glentoran, and look at the space for Cooney to run into. Singleton's inside. More support arriving from Palmer. Touch was a little bit heavy, but he managed to get it away from Bear. Across comes East. That's really good running from Cammy Palmer. Wins a free kick. Linfield aren't happy with it, but it's in the right area of the pitch from the home supporters' perspective.
Excellent play from Palmer, but that's really, really poor from East, you have to say. He's going nowhere. 30 seconds before half-time. It's a challenge he did not need to make, and gives Glentoran an opportunity just right before half-time to fire another ball in the box. It's a poor decision from East, but again, Glentoran, they seem reluctant to commit bodies forward. On that occasion, Palmer very isolated. At other times, Jenkins and Hubin have looked really isolated, and it's actually been on the go. They've got safe numbers back, but just haven't committed that extra body from midfield.
They have committed players forward for this free kick. It's a deep one, but it's well gathered by Christopher Johns. Final action of the first half, and it's a home team who lead at the break. Patrick Hubin's penalty separating the sides. Linfield had an early blitz with a trio of opportunities, the best of them falling to Offord and Fitzpatrick. Hubin holding his nerve though from the spot with the only goal of the opening 45 minutes in this bitter rivalry. Philip, how will the two managers feel going in?
Declan Devine will obviously be the happier, and it was probably a first half of two halves. Linfield should have been 2-3 goals up, obviously paid the ultimate price and given away that penalty, and Glentoran will be delighted to go on ahead.
In the battle of two unbeaten sides, it's Glentoran ahead at the break. Half-time scoreline in East Belfast. It is Glentoran 1, Linfield 0.
David Jeffrey and Paul Lehman have been watching what's been a pretty entertaining first half. David, your assessment?
Frantic, Stephen. Linfield started, I thought, particularly well. They pressed Glentoran, high up the pitch. Glentoran looked nervy. Linfield had 2-3 decent chances, didn't take them. Glentoran played their way into the game, I suppose, got a penalty, and we'll see that shortly, which I don't think it was a penalty, but then Glentoran seemed to be much more comfortable after that, and then Linfield again a little rallied at the end, but certainly enthralling.
It seemed to be a half of difference before and after the goal, Paul.
Yes, as David said, Glentoran started really nervously. Linfield were on the front foot. They had a couple of big opportunities. Certainly we're going to see the highlights. The one from Fitzpatrick, I think he really should score that one. And when they were on top, they failed to capitalise. But after the goal, Glentoran were more comfortable. They looked more composed. They were keeping the ball better. They were wanting the ball more. So, Glentoran really grew under the game. And they're happy for Linfield to retain possession of the ball and keep a nice shape about them and say, come on, break us down. And so far, Linfield haven't been able to do that.
Let's take a check on the Glentoran goal. Penalty or no penalty for you both?
Well, we see here, Kirk, first of all, has only got eyes on the ball. And if he had made contact, then certainly, for me, it was a penalty. But he didn't. We'll see here again. It's absolutely minimal, and I mean minimal. The referee has a great view. He's very, very close. But look here, look at this. Now, I, for the life of me, cannot see how the referee has given that as a penalty.
Yeah, I think when you see that last replay there doesn't seem to be any contact whatsoever. There's not a lot of players appealing for it. But Glentoran won't mind, they've got themselves in front. This man Hubin has been outstanding, I think, for Glentoran as a focal point in the attack, and he never looked like he was going to miss that penalty. It was a fantastic penalty kick.
Paul, I always sort of say that in any game of football at whatever level, you always need that little bit of good fortune. Glentoran got the little bit of good fortune with the penalty. Tremendously well put away by Hubin, who has been quite outstanding for Glentoran. But Linfield will be sore, because for me, it wasn't a penalty.
Kieran Offord caused Glentoran problems early on, didn't he?
Yeah, listen, he's a willing runner at the front. He never gives defenders a minute's peace. He's happy to run into the channels. He works tremendously hard, and he's a real threat for Linfield. We see him here, he has McElhenney for pace. This is very early on in the game, and he really showed that threat for Glentoran. He gets a shot on target, and it's a decent stop from Mills.
We said before the game about his pace, about his ability to take defenders on, and he does this brilliantly. Fantastic ball by Kirk Miller, and there again he's chasing a lost cause almost. He really loves to intimidate the defenders, and it was an excellent save by young Mills.
I mean, Linfield just came out of the blocks quickly and they hassled and harried Glentoran, didn't they, Paul?
Yeah, it was actually the perfect start for Linfield in terms of their play and how they go about their business. Offord was heavily involved, Fitzpatrick was heavily involved. They were winning that midfield battle. But as I say, since the goal, it obviously goals change games. It really settled Glentoran down. They found a way to come back into the game. They've shown a threat of their own. Certainly the set piece threat from Glentoran with the delivery of Daniel Amos is fantastic for them. We see again here, but Linfield will always have that threat with that man Kieran Offord. He really looks up for it tonight.
I mean, David, we saw Linfield early on with so much pressure, so much of the ball. When we look at these opportunities, how much will they be regretting that they did not capitalise?
Well, you know, here's another opportunity. Wasn't the greatest back pass, you know, by Josh Kelly. Mills, you know, wasn't overly happy with that. Then there's a ball played inside by Marcus Kane. That is the opportunity has got to be taken. Yeah. That's the chance that Paul referred to earlier on. And Matthew or Fitzpatrick will be really disappointed that he didn't capitalise. And to answer your question fully, Stephen, is that when you are on top, when you have the ascendancy, opportunities come that way, then you've got to take them. This is another example of Glentoran being nervy, but Linfield didn't punish them during that spell.
Yeah, we've seen that chance from Fitzpatrick. I mentioned it earlier. You know, it's a really... Marcus Kane plays a blind pass inside, and really for me, Fitzpatrick has got to take that opportunity, and at that stage of the game, it would have put Linfield in such a great position.
And yet again, this is Linfield going forward. I think it's young McLean, you know, a more than decent strike, but Mills was right behind it and saved with ease.
And it's amazing when a team can weather the storm, then get their goal, how they grew in confidence, and Glentoran with, you know, another couple of chances before half time.
Stephen, you've got to give credit where credit's due. We talked about Glentoran being nervy in the first sort of 15, 16, 17 minutes, but after the penalty they really grew into it. They were much more in control. Their decision making was better, their passing was better, and Hubin, I thought he was absolutely excellent.
And Jenkins too, obviously, as well, on the ball, very comfortable.
Yeah, I think Jenkins gets that opportunity. He didn't see a lot of the ball in that first half. Jordan Jenkins, although he's working tremendously hard, but this was one opportunity that he had. He gets Sean Brown in a 1v1 opportunity, beats him for pace on the outside, and he puts a tremendous ball across the box, and it's just begging to be put away there, and that was a big opportunity for Glentoran. I think Philip mentioned in commentary he would like to have seen some of the midfielders committing more to get into more bodies into the box there, and perhaps someone could have been on the end of that for a simple tap in.
Okay, well, we will pause the analysis just for a couple of moments, because yesterday, of course, there was good and bad news for football clubs across the country, as the successful applicants to the Northern Ireland Football Fund were announced. 20 clubs have been moved on to the next stage to try and be able to secure a share of £36.2 million made available by the executive for the redevelopment of stadium. Obviously, there was a lot of criticism from those clubs who were not successful. In a moment, I'll be joined live by the Glentoran owner, Ali Poor. But first, here is the Communities Minister, Gordon Lyons.
And this hasn't been done in terms of geography. This has been done in terms of need and the other criteria that we set out. Yes, you can look at the two big ones in Belfast, but there are many others right throughout Northern Ireland. I want all clubs, whether they're moving forward in the prioritised cohort today or those that haven't been successful yet, to eventually get the funding that they need. This is going to be a rolling programme. I intend for this to go on for many years to ensure that footballing need is met. The important thing is that we're getting people onto this treadmill now to get them towards where they need to go. We'll provide the help and support, but we're talking about some fantastic projects here that are truly transformational, so I'm making sure I can do everything I can to get as many of those progressed.
Well, Ali, the reaction here with the fans tonight, they're all absolutely thrilled that you've been able to get to the next stage to secure funding. How confident are you can now make this dream happen?
Extremely confident. You know, we started work on this actually 14 years ago, but in more detail a year ago. We have consultants on board. We spent several hundreds of thousands of pounds to make sure our bid was spot on, so we're very confident.
28 million you have applied for out of the 36 million. Obviously it's going to cost 80 million if all these 20 successful proposals can come to fruition. Why did you need so much, do you think, here?
That's how much it costs. You know, we were asked to evaluate how much a brand new stadium would cost, and that's the figure we came up with. Now, it's quite accurate. Of course, we can reduce some parts of it to bring the budget down or increase it. But that's what we were asked to do, and we've done that.
Can you give us a time frame of when you think you can actually start to redevelop this historic old stadium?
It depends on when the money is available. We're good to go. We have planning permission, we have architects lined up, everything's, the money's ready, the match funding is ready. Don't forget, we're investing a large chunk of that money as well, and that money is in the bank, ready to go.
How much will you have to match for this project?
Well, it depends. It's over 20%. We have to bring in around 20% of what we get. That's what we've offered the government, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, so you're going to have to find millions anyway to make this project possible.
Yes.
Do you understand the criticism from the other clubs around the country who haven't been successful? It's a competition after all.
It's a fair competition. It's a transparent competition, and it's to be expected. Obviously, there's not enough money for all the clubs in this stage. Later on, of course, there will be, hopefully. But I understand the concerns, and yeah.
David, when you have a look around this stadium, you realise how much it is in need of redevelopment and regeneration.
Very much so, Stephen. I remember coming back home from Manchester United and playing here way back in 1982. So certainly it needs a wee bit of love and care and attention. In terms of the distribution of money, Stephen, yes, there were clubs who were disappointed and clubs who were, frustrated. But I went on record and said I would rather monies go to a few clubs so a significant difference can be made than it being spread very thinly right across the board and no real purpose being served. So well done to Glentoran, well done to Cliftonville going forward. But I hope Minister Lyons is true to his word. He talked about this treadmill of funding, and he's certainly got to make sure that there's other monies made available to other clubs.
What reaction have you been getting, Paul, across the football family in Northern Ireland since the announcement yesterday?
Yeah, listen, it's all positive. Anything that's going to help the game, help the stadium, it's very, very positive. Yes, there are some people and some clubs who won't be happy, but you've got to say, I agree with David, it's great to see some of the clubs getting it. From a Glentoran perspective, as someone who followed this club from a little boy, played for the club, I think it's fantastic for Glentoran. We love this place, it's got so much history, but it really needs a makeover, it needs rebuilt, and I really, really hope that happens for Glentoran.
I think the key thing for me, the redevelopment is going to be here. The club's not going to be going anywhere else. No. And I think that was very important. The nostalgia, the history, people maybe think you're a wee bit soft by talking about that, but this is where the history is. So vitally important that the redevelopment happens here.
Well, Ali, we've been talking about the redevelopment of this stadium for years and years. We can take a look at what you hope it will look like. How excited are you by these plans?
Very excited. It looks amazing. I mean, that's state of the art. It looks fantastic, and that will change the whole landscape of East Belfast. Look at that, beautiful.
So, I mean, you're ready to go.
We're ready to go tomorrow.
What's the next step then for you now?
Due diligence.
In the short term.
That's an interesting point now, because 20 clubs have been shortlisted. Now due diligence starts. How we make it through, we don't know, but we're ready.
You enjoyed the first half?
Great.
I'm sure you did. Paul, David, Ali, thank you very much for joining us. Teams are back out. Sit back and enjoy what we hope is an enthralling second half. Glentoran leading by 1-0 to 0.
Thank you, Stephen. Yes, a huge week off the pitch for Glentoran. So far, so good. On it tonight. Patrick Hooben's penalty separating the sides at the break. Don't think there is a change. It's Stewart coming on for Cooney.
It looks like a change of shape for Glentoran. Looks like they're going to go a 4-3-3, and Stewart's going to come across to the right hand side. Jenkins on the left, either side of Hooben.
Jordan Stewart's already found the net twice since his return to the Oval, his second spell at the club. Left at the age of 20 to go to Swindon, then had 7 seasons, almost 200 games. 45 goals for Linfield. Spent last campaign at Crusaders, and now back on the pitch in East Belfast in a green shirt.
Yeah, we highlighted that in the first half, didn't we? That Linfield were getting out down that left-hand side, and it looks like they've now gone to a flat back 4, and they'll hope that Jordan Stewart can pin his man high and stop Linfield playing out down that left-hand side. But certainly an enthralling second half ahead of us. As the guys alluded to there, controversial penalty decision, and Glentoran find themselves ahead, and it's a massive 45 minutes now for both clubs.
You're sticking the initial call?
I'm just going off player reaction. I always go off player reaction, and if I'm Kurt Miller there and I don't touch him, I'm going crazy at the referee if that's not given. And he had a look on his face that I don't know whether the referee's heard a sound, but on viewing it, it looks absolutely minimal contact. But on player reaction, I suppose you're never going to change the referee's mind, are you? But certainly if it was me on that occasion, I'd been going absolutely crazy. But there's nothing you can do now. You've just got to go again. And that'll be the thing that David Heaney will concern. They've had opportunities, Linfield, they just didn't take them. So it's about carving out a few more and try and get back on level terms.
Hooben holding his nerve from the spot. Let us know what you think at BBC Sport NI, hashtag BBC Irish Prem. Over the head of Hooben, picked up by Single. He receives it back. First opportunity for Stewart to try and make something happen. Back in the number 10 jersey. 10 years after leaving the club. 30 now, Jordan Stewart. Very impressive in the first couple of games of the season, scored against Carrick Rangers. It's 4 goals in this fixture, 3 for Linfield, 1 for Glentoran. Seems to have been reinvigorated on his return.
It was a massive decision, wasn't it, from Jordan in the summer, and I spoke to him about it. Obviously he left Crusaders, a club we were at together, and he mentioned that Glentoran had come in for him, and I think he understood fully everything that goes with. You know, he obviously crossed the divide to go from Glentoran to Linfield and then to go back again. So there's a lot that goes along with that, and he'd have been well aware of that. But like anything, you know, the only way to win fans over is to put in performances, and he's been very impressive early on in the season.
He's capable of some magical moments. We've witnessed it in plenty of cases down through the years. He's picked up by Bird. McLean first time ball in between the two Linfield front players. Hooben. Tommy Palmer, the furthest Glentoran player forward. Not dissimilar from the first half in terms of Hooben looking a little bit isolated, even with the arrival of Stewart. He puts the pressure on, keeps Linfield in their own half.
Glentoran fans must be delighted with what they've seen from Hooben in this opening 48 minutes, and also obviously last week at Ballymena getting off the mark in the league. He looks like the complete centre forward, doesn't he? At times we've seen him in front of the defence spraying passes, and other times he's having shots at goal. So he looks like an all-action type of striker, and the fans will absolutely love him, I'm sure.
Picked up a knock in pre-season, obviously hadn't played a lot for Derry City in the time before that, but he certainly hit the ground running. Here is offered, skips past Kane. McElhinney did well. Won by Stewart. Listen to the roar from the home supporters. And then the groans after that pass on the wrong wavelength as he tried to link up with Jenkins.
It was actually really good defending from Shane McElhinney on that occasion. Offered it, had got the better of Marcus Kane, as we said, in those 1v1 situations. Offered will fancy themselves all day against that Glentoran defence with the pace that he has, and McElhinney was alert to the danger.
Offer drops deep once more. You see McElhinney right on top of Offer, tries to thread it through, picks it up again. Manages to find Miller. Towards the back post and away by Larmer. Dangers from that man Offered again. Everything positive seems to be coming through him from Linfield. Sprayed the ball out wide. It looked like Miller might just fire it across on the ground for Fitzpatrick, who got across the front post, but opted to loft it, and it's good defending by Larmer, just clears the danger. 5 minutes played in the second half. Linfield looking for an equaliser. Away by Kane. Managed to control it in his own 6-yard box. Linfield still with players forward. Fitzpatrick keeps it in play. Wins a free kick. Another set piece for the visitors.
It's a carbon copy of that Ewan Eastman, wasn't it? Just right at the end of the first half. It's a challenge. single. Should know better than that, Fitzpatrick. Obviously fishing for it all day there, just wants contact and gets it. It's a good position for Linfield to put another delivery into the box.
Good centre forward play for Fitzpatrick. Didn't have too many options. Found the challenge, and Miller loves a platform like this. Hall's looked dangerous from set pieces, but McElhinney was able to put him off on that occasion. Picked away by Stewart alongside his teammate last season, the Crusaders. Offord. Here is Offord. Good strength. Can he get a shot in? So many bodies back there. It's McElhinney's on the ground, and it's cleared by Stewart. All a little bit scrappy in the Glentoran penalty area, but that won't concern the home team too much as they manage to deny Offord.
I have to say, in the last 2-3 minutes, Shane McElhinney's made 2 or 3 absolutely vital interventions, and that's another one. Offord gets the wrong side of Singleton, too strong for him, and that's a vital interception from McElhinney. And just before that, he had a crucial header that just took the ball off Ben Hall's head. And he's a player who probably came in for a lot of criticism last year, to be honest, towards the end. Big Shane, but he looks reinvigorated this season, and he's been excellent in this opening 51 minutes.
Had to play out of position quite a bit towards the end of last season, almost as a makeshift wing back. Kieran Cole out injured for Glentoran. McElhinney has been consistently given that role this season. Started all but one so far in the current campaign. East looks for the height of Bear. Picked up by Miller. McLean lifts it in. Hall had stayed up. Glentoran looking to hit Linfield on the counter-attack, but give it away cheaply to McLean. Fitzpatrick alongside Marcus Keane, one of the key battles in this game.
Glentoran just can't get out. Really sloppy in possession. Just again, we mentioned Hubin isolated on his own as Shields is moving into the box, and it's just seems to be turning over again for Glentoran. It's almost a carbon copy of the start they had in the first half. Looks slightly nervy and just turning the ball over too easily and allowing Linfield sustained periods of pressure.
Moving the target. You can see from that shot, Jenkins is up there. Stewart starting to come into your screen, but it's very much 1 against 3 at times. Hubin taking on Brown, Hall and East. Here he is once more. This time Singleton does try and get ahead of the ball. Back to Hubin. Declan Devine right now has his head in his hands, showing that frustration, probably showing the frustration that you're articulating so well. If you're Glentoran, how do you try and help out Hubin and get closer to him in situations like that?
Yeah, you just simplify things for me. You just get geographically, just get a lot closer to him. 10-20 yards if you're a midfielder. He sets you, he spins in behind. You can play him. It'll force Linfield back. They'll kick the ball out for throw-ins. You get up the pitch and all of a sudden you've killed 2 or 3 minutes and you've got sustained pressure, as we see Fitzpatrick chasing one down. Again, McElhinney showing it. Almost another 10 yards Fitzpatrick would have got there, but makes another vital interception. But that's why Declan's going crazy there. They're just turning the ball over very, very easily, and sometimes you just need someone in there just to put their foot in the ball and just turn the team. Get yourself 40-50 yards up the pitch, working Linfield's half.
McCullough towards the near post. Baird's out. Linfield appealing for a penalty. Referee unmoved by it though. Quite a few appeals from players in blue.
Bit of a wry smile from Isaac Baird as he crept up. Probably gave away there that it wasn't a penalty, but you can see Declan Devine. He's given everything to his team there, and I think he just wants to get them a bit more closer together, more compact, and try and kill it maybe a bit more. But I think we'll be encouraged by the start they've made. And again, haven't really had a clear-cut opportunity.
Declan Devine works heartlessly, doesn't tell to hold anything back in the dugout. David Healy has been there, he's done it. A little bit more reserved, but even in games like this tends to be a little bit more vocal, a little bit more animated, and certainly if his side wins. Enjoys the moment a little bit more as Jenkins drags it just wide. Waited for his moment, Jordan Jenkins. Glentoran's top scorer last season in this campaign as well.
Wasn't far wide. Super effort again from Jenkins, and him and Houben combining. Just dragged it that past the left-hand post to Chris Johns.
It really was the breakout season in Jordan Jenkins' career. And had success at other clubs. Had to be patient when he arrived at the Oval. But he certainly took his opportunity under Declan Devine and became one of the main men in the Oval dressing room. Here he is on the ball. Houben wanted it through the middle. Pass asks a lot of Cammy Palmer though. A little bit more life about Glentoran, but also gaps starting to emerge out there.
Yeah, and this seems to be Glentoran's problem again that we mentioned in the first half. They just get their up here as Jenkins feeds Houben.
Here is Houben. Jenkins wants it back. Pass is slightly overhit from Houben.
Done really, really well, didn't he? As you said, it looked like a slightly overhit pass on that occasion from Houben, but brilliant from Jenkins to win his team a corner. And clever little backheel.
We mentioned Offord and Fitzpatrick before the game, as well as a duo of Jenkins and Houben. That partnership obviously very early in the season, but there are signs that that duo could. Amos to take. It was Johns who got his fingertips to it. Both sides piling pressure on the goalkeeper from set pieces.
It's a good fist in the end, isn't it, from Johns? Just cleared the danger. This will be a welcome respite for Glentoran, just taking the sting out of the game for a couple of minutes. A couple of sustained corners, opportunity to get the big men in the box.
Lifted in again by Amos. Oh, it's Larmour who was arriving. He's pretty prolific at Seaview, Daniel Larmour, with runs just like that. And you can see from his reaction he felt he should have done better.
Massive chance for Daniel, and as you said, he's very deceptive, Daniel Larmour, in the opposition's penalty box. Gets in the end of a lot of first and second contacts, and maybe he was surprised on that occasion that the ball actually made it over the players in front of him, and on his good, strong right foot just couldn't direct it past Chris Johns in the Linfield goal.
Almost 250 games in the Irish League, Daniel Larmour, just turned 26. Made the breakthrough at Glenavon before. Switched to Seaview and now on to the Oval. Baird always seems to be the outlet from that side, and throw-ins as Miller plays it in. Could fall for Shields. A little bit of pinball taking place. That's picked up by Stewart. If he gets his head up, Jenkins is in space. Forced away from goal though. And bodies are starting to flood forward from Glentoran. Jenkins holds it up. Played in towards Jordan Stewart, and well, he scuffs his effort.
Massive opportunity for Jordan Stewart. It's Jenkins again on that left-hand side. Positive. Linfield don't clear the danger, and it's just a lack of composure, isn't it, from Jordan Stewart? As Linfield potential penalty appeal there potentially, but definitely not. It just came off the backside of Jenkins. That's a huge chance for Jordan Stewart, and you're looking to at least hit the target on that occasion.
Well, we've mentioned that at times Houben and Jenkins have been isolated. When that counter-attack started, the Glentoran players started to flood forward, all trying to get in the act. Here's Amos, put under good pressure from Baird. McElhaney. Just having a glance down to see if either side are considering changes as we pass the hour mark. Paul lifts it away. Works out nicely for McLean. Fitzpatrick bundled over. What's the referee going to do?
Penalty.
Penalty. Had a good think about it. I think he was trying to assess whether it was in the box or outside the box. It's a yellow for Marcus Kane. It's at the same end as the Kirk Miller one, which was awarded against Linfield. Now they have an opportunity from the spot, and the first thing you got to ask is it inside?
That's a big question for me. It's no doubt it's a foul of some sort. It looked like it began outside the box, I have to say. Ben McMaster and his linesman on that far side took a long time, communicated to each other. Obviously, both came to the agreement that it was inside the box, and looks like Chris Shields will have the opportunity to draw Linfield level here.
Penalties have been a big problem for Linfield. They've missed 10 of their last 25. Alford and Fitzpatrick and Shields guilty of misses, but it's back to the skipper who's given the responsibility. Shields scores, holds his nerve. Linfield are level. It's the 500th goal the club have scored against Glentoran since the first fixture back in 1890, and in 2025 it's one apiece in East Belfast.
And like his ex-Dundalk teammate, never really looked in any danger there, did he, Chris Shields? Whipped it past Mills, and Linfield back in level terms. And how many times do we talk about penalty decisions that they come back around and they even themselves out over a season? There's been two here tonight, and I'm not sure if either potentially qualify as a penalty. It looked to me like the contact on that one started outside the box and continued in. And Declan Devine trying to rally his troops, but this game's finally poised now with half an hour to go at one apiece.
Well, no shortage of talking points, and we've still got almost half an hour to play.
Just going back to the penalty, that's what we talked about before the game, about Linfield's route to goal. It's those balls down the side of those defenders, Marcus Kane, Shea McElhenney, all fantastic at going and engaging and being physically aggressive, but probably not as strong as at turning and having to move their feet against quick mobile players. And Fitzpatrick, you have to give him credit, does that really, really well. Got his body between man and ball and gave the referee a decision to make.
So at half-time, they identified those early opportunities that Linfield created. Did Linfield stop doing it, or did Glentoran try and find a way to counteract that?
I think Glentoran naturally had dropped deeper, didn't they, and denied the space. And I have to say, it's been more like a basketball match in the second half, hasn't it? It's been you attack, we attack, and Glentoran have been guilty of probably not capitalising on that final pass and that calm head. They just haven't. It's probably not failed to the right player. Maybe it hasn't failed to Hoopen to play the pass. It's been other players, and they've obviously suffered a setback now. But there's still hope for Glentoran. They've still been in the ascendancy for large parts of this game.
Amos's ball in. And it's been a night when the two calmest heads at the Oval have been the two 34-year-olds. Hoopen and Shields, former teammates, both penalty takers, both penalty scorers. Hoopen, is he onside? Not on this occasion. Won't count from Hoopen.
He did look off, didn't he, on that occasion? Looked like he was just 2 yards the wrong side of the Linfield defender.
Grimace in the face of East as he clutches his ankle. Has been unfortunate during his time at Windsor Park. His two spells at Windsor Park with issues. Missed a couple of games in Europe this season as Shields gets there first. Noticeable that he seems to have stepped up a little bit. Linfield captain tonight in the absence of Mulgrew.
And you can see Hoopen, hands in the air again. You know, it's one chasing two, and you can't press that. It's too difficult. And I'd like to see Glentoran's wide players get higher and engage the back three. On that occasion, Alford just overhitting. But you can see what Hubin's saying. He's turning around the deck in the line and saying, I'm on one, can't press three if you include the goalkeeper in that. He's got to rely on Jordan Stewart and George Jenkins getting up there.
Here's another look at the penalty incident.
Yeah, you can see it. For me, that's outside. Yeah, it looks like it definitely commenced outside. You see it again here. Yeah. Obviously ends up 3, 4, 5 yards inside the box, but those split-second decisions, it's so difficult, isn't it? And you know, it's been talked about all week about the advent of technology and different things in this league, but that's extremely hard to get right. And on that occasion, to me, it looked like it started outside the box.
And is that where you need your assistant? Because there was a delay, and presumably that's what Ben McMaster was doing, getting clarification and confirmation, if you like, from his assistant to say it was inside, it's a penalty.
Exactly, and the linesman's, he's 20 yards away from it there. He's got a great view, but you have to obviously, these things are happening at high pace, and you've got a split second to make the call, and they've went with their decision. And like we said in the first half, the penalty was probably harsh in the extreme, even though there wasn't the reaction from the Linfield players that we talked about. So that's football, isn't it?
Here's Miller. Corner kick to Linfield. These talking points will be debated by Paul Lehman and David Jeffrey alongside Stephen Watson at the finale of this game. Gavin Andrews pitch side will be getting reaction. Who will be celebrating? Level pegging at the moment. Oh, it's missed by everybody. East driven across goal again, and was it Ben Hall, I think? It was Ben Hall. Glentoran players aren't happy, I think, with the initial decision. They felt there was an infringement. Perhaps opinion that ball was out of play.
Yeah, I think they thought the ball was well out. You can see they're incensed.
Dialogue still going on with the match officials as Glentoran prepared 2 changes. Burt for Palmer. Johnny Russell for Danny Amos.
Probably just like for like, won't it be? Burt will slot into that midfield 3 ahead of Kelly and Singleton. Russell take up his normal position of left back, and obviously gives them that outlet with that enormous long throw that he has, and another weapon that they'll be looking to utilise, I'm sure.
Goes away with the Northern Ireland under-21s in the international break. Everyone you talk to here at the Oval talks about Liam Burt. He's a long spell out injured, but it was viewed as a really good acquisition during the summer. Player who played for Rangers and Celtic. He's won league titles with Shelburne and Shamrock Rovers in the League of Ireland. Linfield have just upped the ante a little bit.
Took the words out of my mouth. They're starting to turn the screw. And so the quick corner was on there, but they've elected to hold fire and allow Miller to deliver it. But like the first half, the goal's just given Linfield a huge lift up, and they look a different team.
Marcus Kane picking up Isaac Bird. Offered right on top of the goalkeeper, who elects to punch it, and Mills does well to get it away. Here is Burt. Swept towards the far side, another one of the substitutes. Russell trying to help out Stewart and Hooven. Huge 20 minutes coming up. First Linfield Glentoran derby of the league campaign. Both teams unbeaten thus far, as are Coleraine.
That's excellent centre forward play from Fitzpatrick. Again, it may be slightly soft, but he's playing for it, isn't he? He's getting his body between the man and the ball where they have to come through him to win possession, and gets Linfield 70, 80 yards up the pitch, and another chance for an entry into the box.
Very selfless centre forward, Matthew Fitzpatrick. 2 in the wall for Glentoran. Fitzpatrick's made his way into the middle. It could fall for Ewan East. Weaker right side, headed clear by Larmer. Offer. Good ball in. A couple of players attacking it. Out go for a goal kick.
Sustained Linfield pressure at this moment, and Offord stands a lovely ball. And for a second there, I think they actually got in each other's way. I think Baird and Hall challenged each other on that occasion. Declan Devine obviously not happy with what he's seeing, making that double sub. He's probably just looking a bit more control in the game from Glentoran. We mentioned they've just been playing on the counter attack, haven't they? And it's been 1 and 2 passes, and the ball's changing hands. They just need to try and sustain it for a bit longer.
Off the head of Hall. It's Jenkins who gambles and lets that ball drift out of play. 25 now, Jordan Jenkins has shown real maturity in some of his centre forward play this evening.
He has. He's been a fantastic addition to the Glentoran team. What he brings to them.
McElhinney up from the back. Larmour had a chance from a set piece a little bit earlier. It's towards Larmour. He gets ahead. 3 players get each other's way. Ball bouncing about. How's it stay out? Keane had a chance right on the goal line. I think so too did Jenkins. And how is it still 1 apiece?
How is that ball not crossed the line? I think it was Larmour, wasn't it, at the back post? He looked favoured all day long. Gets up above Brown, and McLean and the goalkeeper collide, and Marcus Keane
twice off the line.
Marcus Keane just couldn't force it. And I have no idea how that ball didn't cross the line, and somehow we're still level at 1 apiece.
Brilliant from McLean to deny Glentoran. We have another corner kick. Hooben was lurking. Hooben still lurking, and this time it's gathered by Chris Johns. The Linfield goal under siege from those back-to-back corner kicks. Gutsy from David Healy's side. Baird to Offord. Fitzpatrick on the overlap. Free kick to Linfield. Offord again making things happen in the final third. Demanding the ball. Winning the free kick. And there are 2 or 3 Linfield players who will really fancy this one.
They haven't flow to the second half. It's been excellent, you have to say it. It's been end-to-end at times, and it was really good midfield play from Baird initially, and it's pretty soft, isn't it? Offord just leading across his man and almost played for it. Looks like they stole a couple of yards on the free kick as well. And it's made for a right footer, isn't it?
It's made for Kirk Miller.
It is.
McLean might fancy it, but Kirk Miller, in his testimonial season down through the years, has been something of a set-piece specialist. Offord also was quality from this kind of range, but it was always going to be Linfield's number 7.
Per effort, I'll say it. You don't really associate it with that man, do we? But just as soon as it left his foot, it never troubled Mills in the Glentoran goal. And it's probably at that awkward distance, isn't it, where you've got to have high technical ability to get that up over a 6-foot wall and down again. But if there's anyone who could do it, it would most likely be that man, but just got it all wrong on that occasion.
Not to be this time for Kirk Miller. Should get in and around 500 games for the club this season. Mentioned his testimonial year. Brilliant signing, spent time, of course, in England with Oldham. Came back to Linfield, and the number of assists he's registered during that time is staggering. Hooben. This time closed down by Hall. Manages to keep the pressure on. McLean under severe pressure himself. Gets fouled, but still manages to find Baird. He brought into contact with McElhinney. And there's another example of what Philip was talking about. The end-to-end nature of this second half. Almost feels it's a case of you have a go, we have a go.
Yeah, and amongst all that, there was a sublime pass from Kyle McLean, wasn't it? He took 3, maybe 4 Glentoran players out, and Baird overran the ball, and he was actually very lucky there because he dove in. He's on a booking. McElhinney, as you mentioned, he's been key back there for Glentoran in making a number of interceptions.
Moving into the path of Burt. Jenkins wants it outside. Instead, Hooven finds Russell. Nice little nutmeg from Jenkins, but there was an extra Linfield player back. I think it was actually Kyle McLean who got the ball. Offered as it all to do himself. He wanted a free kick after the challenge from McElhinney referee. Shook his head.
Yeah, no free kick there for me, but again, Glentoran just needlessly kicked the ball, straight out for a goal kick where they could have just retained, gone back to Mills, got set up, got their shape. But there was a passage of play there where Burt got really close to Hooven, who just set him off. He played the ball wide, and they need to do more of that. They need to get Burt a lot closer to Hooven and play those combinations and work their way up the pitch.
Stewart casually tries to play it forward. McCullough maybe hasn't had the license to roam forward as much as he did in the opening 45 minutes.
It's Marcus Kane, is it, who's just requiring attention, I think.
Yeah, he's called across to the medical staff.
Both players will probably be pretty happy for a couple of minutes break here and get a bit of fluids on board, because it's been pretty frantic, hasn't it, from the first whistle. But I think in the second half the intensity's gone up another couple of notches. Linfield have really turned the screw, and Glentoran obviously looking to play in the counter attack, and we're really finally poised here for this last 13-15 minutes.
A little bit of a timeout to continue the basketball analogy as Marcus Kane receives attention. Actually made 14 appearances for Linfield before time at Carrick and then onwards to the Oval. He's the longest serving player here. There's Chris McKee about to be brought on. The frontman signed a new contract over the summer, but hasn't actually scored in the league since April. Did find a net against it Harlan Wolf Welders in the County Antrim Shield. And off goes Kieran Alford, I think.
Slightly surprised in that, I have to say. I was just wondering, would David Healy potentially maybe sacrifice one of his midfield three, maybe Baird and drop McLean slightly deeper and allow McKee to play in behind, but it's a straight swap for Alford, and I thought was still a threat, but obviously who am I to correct David Healy with his record?
Yes, Kieran Alford certainly a live wire, doesn't add to those 7 goals he's managed so far this season. On comes Chris McKee, a different type of striker, a slightly more of a withdrawn striker. We're playing behind Fitzpatrick. Good footwork from Russell. Good pressure from Linfield though. Glentoran players quickly closed down by the likes of McLean and Shields. There's Jordan Jenkins. He's had a couple of sights of goal himself.
This is where Glentoran have looked most threatening, isn't it? It's those entries from set plays where they get McElhinney up, Hooven's in there, Dan Larmour, Marcus Kane, all very adept and physically attack the ball very well.
Should be dealt with though by Hall. Miller lifted his head up and tries to set Fitzpatrick on his way. Burt's looked very tidy since coming on. Keane thought about having a go. Jenkins, 3 in the middle. Gathered by Johns. Better cross there, and it could have been 2-1 Glentoran.
Definitely, but it's really good play from Glentoran, and Burt showed signs that that's the type of player he is. He likes to knit things together. It was a lovely 1-2, and he worked the ball wide to Jenkins on that occasion. Just couldn't get the final pass, but that's encouraging for Glentoran. Burt looks like a player who, if you get him on the ball, he can knit things together and can keep it ticking over.
Larmour pushes forward and finds Jordan Stewart, driven in low. Headed away by Hall. Stewart tracking back. Wins the ball, but it's straight to a Linfield player. This game delicately poised as we enter the final 10 minutes in East Belfast. Hubin.
Done really well. He was on his own again, but he showed that strength, hasn't he? He's done that all evening. Like Fitzpatrick on the other side, it's been a masterclass in hold-up play. That looks like nothing, but trust me, that's invaluable to a team in terms of getting up, getting yourself set, getting the pitch locked in, and getting another attempt and entering the Linfield box.
Here comes the long throw in of Russell that Philip spoke about. That one almost ended up at the airport. Keane, edge of the box. Oh, he's looked like he was going over the top, but Jones was watching it all the way.
Super effort from Marcus, and I can't imagine the scenes if that had flew into the top corner. Fantastic effort, wasn't it? Just slightly underneath it for a second. Had Johns shuffling, but you mentioned earlier what a servant he's been. Came through the ranks with him at Linfield. He was a young player coming through, and you could see the qualities he had. I think he was a left winger, striker maybe in those days, but he's turned into an absolute Glentoran legend
and a real leader at this club. Given the way there's been so many arrivals over the past number of years, he's a real old school throwback, as is the player on the ball right now. Sherdu does so well. Can he find Hubin? Bird. Russell's cross is too much on it. Well, that's the one thing Jordan Stewart does, and he's done everywhere he's been. He gets fans on the edge of their seat.
That was an unbelievable passage of play from Jordan Stewart. Skipping down the wing, it was slide tackle, skill, everything. Excellent delivery as well, I have to say, at the end of it. Just evaded Hubin at the back post. Unfortunately for Glentoran, Russell just overhits the cross.
Still plenty of magic left in Jordan Stewart. Hubin. Good play from Hall to deny his pass, and McKee gets in behind McElhinney, who's the wrong side of the striker. Manages to recover, but McKee's waiting for support. Isaac Bird lurking in the edge of the area. Shields tries to get it back. East. Glentoran struggling to clear their lines. McCullough, good delivery. Fitzpatrick adamant the final touch didn't come off him. Good play by Linfield, and it was Fitzpatrick on the end of it.
Great delivery from McCullough.
Well, it's going to be a card for David Healy. He obviously agrees with Fitzpatrick and the other Linfield players who felt that should have been a corner kick instead of a goal kick.
You can see why in the replay it clearly came off Marcus Keane last, and one's gone in Glentoran's favours, and David Healy incensed, as you can see, and he's picked up a yellow card.
Always puts extra importance in games like this. Isn't afraid to talk about it, David Healy, as Bird drifts past his marker, tries to stand it up for Hubin. Kelly wants it once more. Poor cross over from the midfielder.
Disappointing delivery. Done really well to pick up the second ball. Again, Bird, when he picks up that ball in those positions, he looks like he's capable of unlocking the door, and Glentoran just need to try and get him on it as often as possible.
David Healy still arguing his point with the fourth official. Declan Levine watches on. 5 minutes to go plus injury time. Will there be a winner? The last time Linfield managed a league victory here, it was a late E2 Vertainen strike back in 2022, almost 1,000 days ago on Boxing Day, the last time Linfield left this ground with a victory in the league. Divine. Wants a little bit more from his players. To try and get the ball into play, but the ball boy wasn't letting him do so. Will both of these teams remain unbeaten, or will there be a winner at the Oval? Keane seems to recover from that knock a moment ago. Tester for Brown once more. 20-year-old has acquitted himself well in his first Big Two derby.
He has. He's probably gone under the radar this evening. He's been impressive, young Brown.
Russell, only one thing in his mind: winding up on the far side. 3 minutes of normal time remaining. Into the night sky in East Belfast. Glentoran corner kick. Listen to the roar.
The length in those throw-ins is something else, I have to say. This is one of the longest throw-ins I've ever seen. And again, a massive opportunity for Glentoran, and what a time it would be to score now.
3 points and bragging rights up for grabs. Will one team seize them? Away by Shields at the front post. Kelly wins it back. Burt. Larmer manages to keep it in play, and then Hoopin gets his body across. Nobody wants to make a challenge in that area. Plenty still forward for Glentoran. Fitzpatrick does brilliantly though to win it back and deny the cross, but it does make its way into the penalty area, and Shields, not for the first time, manages to get his head on it first. Sacrificing himself for the team, Chris Shields, and using all that experience.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Used all his experience there, but Daniel should know better there. Larmer should know that the referee's going to give a free kick on contact there, and he just lets Linfield off the hook there, and they're able to clear now.
.90 seconds of normal time remaining. Both sides have found a net from penalty kicks. One in the first half, one in the second. Hoopin for Glentoran, Shields for Linfield. Appeals for a handball against Fitzpatrick.
It's gone out, that's
out for a throw in on this near side. A few ironic cheers after they wanted the initial call from Glentoran fans. And David Healy, once again, really frustrated by that decision. He was only a few feet away from it. Makes his feelings clear. Probably had the best view of the house, in fact. He felt that the entirety of the ball had not gone over the line. Russell.
Don't think you'll want to see that one back in a hurry. He's got it all wrong, and that's unfortunate for Glentoran, because Jenkins had actually made a fantastic run off the defence there, and he was in down the channel.
Shields. Fitzpatrick. Russell comes across to make amends. Lovely first touch from Burt Shields. With the challenge, play continues. No free kick for either side, both cases in that situation. 3 minutes injury time. Still 3 points to play for here at the Oval.
It looked like Shields handed the ball on that coming together with Burt, to be honest, but referee obviously let play continue. And 3 minutes additional time. I was hoping he was going to put 10 up. Don't think anyone wants this one to end. It's been excellent in the second half, and still time for either side to find a winner.
We'll discuss the player of the match in a moment, but you can't take your eyes off the game right now. Linfield hoping to find a winner. The ball's in the right area of the pitch from their point of view, pinning Glentoran back. Brown to Miller. McKeon, Fitzpatrick in the middle. Fitzpatrick wins it first. Header but can't link up with McCullum. Who's it going to fall to? McLean almost managed to get his toe to it and squeeze it to a teammate. Houben tries to put pressure on Hall. Now it's East. Houben still charging towards the goalkeeper, Johns. Nobody settling for a draw in this derby game. Brown picks it up. McLean's lost a boot but continues to make his way forward. Brown, lovely bit of skill from him. Options in the box. Miller. Brown again. Fires it forwards off the woodwork. Who's he going to fall to? Brilliant block. Linfield denied. Deep in injury time by the woodwork. But continue with the attack. What drama that would have been. And eventually gathered by Mills.
Unbelievable play by Sean Brown. The turn absolutely sold Josh Kelly. Makes its way to Miller. Comes back to Brown. Does Mills get a touch on that? I'm not sure, but it's chaos in that box, and somehow it doesn't go in the Glentoran net.
Baird denied by the follow-up, and Linfield trying to come again. Jenkins, is he onside? What an effort from him. Fizzes over the top. Whistle signs. Both could have won it. Neither have managed it. It's 1-1, Philip, and I don't know why.
What a game, what an ending, and we're just seeing that Jenkins chance again. 2 feet lower, that's in the top corner, and what a game, as we said. It had everything. It had controversial refereeing decisions, and we didn't get to name our player of the match, but obviously I had selected Pat Houben. I thought his performance just all round from start to finish was exemplary. We've seen him chasing down goalkeepers in the last couple of minutes there, and fantastic advert for the Irish League. And how a goal didn't go in that second half for either team after Linfield equalised, I'm still not sure, but brilliant game.
David Jeffrey guaranteed his goals before this game. The 2 on the night came from the penalty spot. There could have been so many more. Both sides had opportunities in injury time. Brown denied by the upright at one end, and then right at the death, the player in shot, Jordan Jenkins, almost the match winner. Both Linfield and Glentoran remain unbeaten for the season. Patrick Houben, man of the match on the night, as it finishes on a scoreline of Glentoran 1, Linfield 1. Philip, we've spoken about the rivalry. Who will be happier with a point?
It's a really tough question, to be honest, because if we go right back to the start, Linfield 2-3 huge opportunities like we've seen at half-time. Didn't take any of those. Glentoran got their noses in front. I think they'll be bitterly disappointed with a penalty decision that we've seen it before. Looked like it maybe started outside the box. I think when all's said and done, both teams will take the point and move on.
Coleraine, the other unbeaten side in the top tier. Linfield players slowly making their way off the pitch, having showing their appreciation for the visiting supporters. They had their chances, having trailed at the break, but Chris Shields and his teammates leave East Belfast with a point on a scoreline of Glentoran 1, Linfield 1, Stephen.
David Jeffrey, Paul Lehman, what a game.
Absolutely pulsating, Stephen. End to end, fantastic spectacle. Philip was right in co-coms, you know, nobody wanted this game to end, and yet I've got to confess that Paul and I, from different perspectives, wanted the referee to blow it up. You know, the last couple of minutes, you know, they'll hit the bar. Then after that, you've young Jenkins as well. You know, it was incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, we didn't want it to end because we didn't really think either team deserved to lose a game.
Yeah.
Both teams put so much into it. It was end to end, particularly in the second half. Philip Lowry described it as a bit of a basketball game, and that's fantastic for us to watch and for us to comment on. Credit to both sets of players. They gave everything. Both teams could have won it right at the death even. It had everything, that game.
Yeah, great advertisement for Irish League football.
It was,
David.
You know, and Paul's, you know, hit the nail right in the head. We didn't want either team ultimately to win. And people maybe think that's a bit daft, but neither side deserved, you know, to get beaten tonight. But in terms of the spectacle, my goodness gracious me, the atmosphere was absolutely brilliant, and I'm so thankful that it lived up to all of what we said prior to the game. These are special games. They really are something else.
Well, let's hear from the man of the match. He's with Gavin Andrews.
Patrick, your first taste of the big two, how was it?
Yeah, you know, it was a thrilling encounter, wasn't it? I think the ball turned over too much on our behalf, and we probably gave them too many chances in the first half. But I think we kind of got over that, I thought, and we started playing decent stuff, and we had a couple of chances, didn't we?
How were you feeling standing over that penalty?
Yeah, fine. It's not a new situation for me to stand over a penalty, and yeah, I done my homework as well with the goalkeeper, so I was happy enough with it.
That seemed to settle you all down.
It did, yeah, but pity, you know, we conceded a penalty there. It's hard to see from my angle. I thought it started outside the box, and but the rest said it finished inside it. So, you know, you have to take it on the chin. But we did right our luck there at the end, I suppose, and kind of could have went anywhere.
Second half, great value. Could have gone either way.
Yeah, definitely could have went either way, and you know, I'd say both sides would probably take the point.
How much are you enjoying life under Declan?
Yeah, loving it. Loving it. You know, there's no better feeling playing week in, week out, and you know, I have my body in a position now where, you know, I got myself back into the team, so it's happy days.
What's possible with this group of players this year?
I think anything's possible. You can see it out there. There's a lot of fight. There's probably a lot we can learn from this game as well. Probably that wee bit of composure when the ball turns over, just to try and take the sting out of it. I just thought it turned over too much, and kind of went like a basketball game. And yeah, you can take a lot of positives, but we need to work on the negatives as well.
Top man will play.
Cheers, thank you.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Well, there's how the table looks after tonight's thrilling encounter. Glentoran 4 points clear. Coleraine have 2 games in hand, as have Larne in third. Linfield 7 points behind Glentoran, but they do have those 3 games in hand. Houben, deserved man of the match tonight. You probably could have picked one of 3 or 4, couldn't you?
I think over the piece, you know, I would say yes, although I've got to say Jordan Jenkins and Kieran Offord, you know, for me, were both outstanding in that they create the chances for themselves. They give their side, you know, that edge. But I've got to say, Pat Houben, he's a quality player, you know, and the positions that he took up. And one thing that I really loved about his play, yes, he comes short, he looks to get at the feet, but he wasn't frightened to do the dirty work, the covering back in, and that probably was as complete a performance. And so, yes, he's certainly very worthy of his Man of the Match award.
Linfield's equaliser second half was a penalty. What did you make of the decision, first of all, to award this spot kick, Paul?
Yeah, well, this is an area where Linfield were going to have joy. You know, it's Fitzpatrick just trying to get down the side of Marcus Kane. It looks like the initial foul, the initial contact is outside the box. The referee does take a few seconds, obviously consults with the assistant. They get the decision between them, and the penalty kick is given. But I have to say, I thought it was just outside the box, the initial foul, the contact.
David, penalty or no penalty for you?
As with the Glentoran, not a penalty. So it's in the box, simple as. The one thing that I do ask for is consistency, and so
you got them both wrong. Is that
yeah,
what you're
well, I'm not being flippant. Thank goodness, you know, that was the case, because for me, you know, certainly starts way outside of the box, and yes, the momentum takes Matthew in. Chris Shields puts it away with aplomb, very similar to Pat Hoban in terms of his penalty conversion. But for me, neither penalty was a penalty, but delighted that both of them were given and one evened out the other.
Well, if you're just joining us this evening, it's finished 1-1 between Glentoran and Linfield, and that penalty that David Jeffrey was referring to was in the first half for Glentoran. Both of our pundits pretty much in agreement. You think this probably wasn't a penalty either, Paul?
Yeah, I think so. Philip made a really good point in co-comedy that Kirk Miller didn't appeal the situation whatsoever. But when you see there's a close-up angle that we saw at half-time, and there didn't seem to be any contact whatsoever from that angle. But like Philip said, Kirk doesn't really contest the decision. James Singleton goes down injured. We see there, Kirk Miller doesn't really contest it. The referee is right on the spot to give the decision, but for me, I think this is the angle we were looking at earlier. There doesn't seem to be any contact for me, but at that stage of the game, it was a massive boost for Glentoran because Linfield were well on top.
There's no contact there whatsoever, Stephen. It's just plain as the nose in your face. Again, fantastic penalty and tremendously well converted.
But, I mean, referee right on top of the decision. I mean, he was right. He was
right there, but I think it was a really good point by Philip. In terms of Kirk, I would have been going absolutely ballistic with that referee. I would have gone nuts. But he didn't. But listen, it turned out in the correct way.
Defenders union there. You two sticking together. Look, as Pat Hoban said there, both teams probably happy to take a point, but they weren't happy to settle for a point because late in the game they both pushed for a winner. We can see a couple of great examples here.
Yeah, I think it was the Linfield opportunity was young Sean Brown, who had a really accomplished performance in his first Big Two game. He gets forward on the right hand side. I think it's a lovely bit of link up play with himself and Kirk Miller. He continues his run into the box. You see it here. Miller's just trying to put the ball across. It falls to Brown, and he's just going for pace and power on the ball. It's beating the goalkeeper, all ends up, and it comes back off the bar. And that was a massive chance for Linfield to win the game late on. And just when you think that that's it, the game's done and dusted, Glentoran then go and they have an opportunity to try and win it as well with that man who impressed David and Jordan Jenkins.
Yeah, here's the ball's played forward again. He's always chasing a lost cause all of the time. Just comes inside and what a strike! What an incredible strike! And it was at that point when the referee blew the whistle, we were going, thank you, thank goodness. But tremendous from both sides. As I say, neither side were prepared, just to settle for a draw. They were both really, really going for it. And you've got to commend the players, with that attitude and that application. But as I say, thankfully, it ended the way it did.
Yeah, we certainly got some great entertainment. Let's hear what the Linfield manager, David Healy, made of it all. He's with Gavin.
Well, David just popped out and he said, some game that. It was quality.
Yeah, I just see the boys talking about it. They're laughing and joking. I wish I could stand and laugh and joke myself. I can't now, but brilliant advertisement. Two teams going at it. To be honest, I thought we were a better team tonight in the first half and the second half. We probably didn't get our rewards tonight, but they kept going. We were rewarded with at least an equaliser. We were down here last year, and a couple of times we huffed and puffed and didn't quite get the equaliser we did tonight. And I think on reflection, I know it's so early, I thought towards the end of the game, 15-20 minutes, I thought we were going to. We were the team looking as if we were in the ascendancy, looking as if we were going to win the game.
Before their penalty in the first half, should you have been ahead? A couple of great chances early on.
Since all we saw, it's again hindsight, of course. You want your centre forwards to score. I think we had a chance each. I think Kieran done well for his. Maybe Matthew maybe snatched at his a little bit. Maybe it was so early in the game. I don't know. But in general, our general play was better. Our general. The momentum certainly in the second half was with us, and as I said before, we certainly deserved at least a point out of the game, at least.
What was your take on the two penalties? Both look a little soft as far as the guys in the studio are saying.
I'll speak with my Linfield hat on. I thought the first one wasn't, and I thought the second one was a stone wall. But listen, again, credit to Ben. These games certainly aren't easy to manage. I thought in general the majority of the game he got most things right. There's one or two little corners that I thought we potentially could have had, little deflections. I picked up a customary yellow card potentially, but that's the fire I want to win here, and I thought we were in the ascendancy, and it looked as if we were going to win the game.
What's the mood like in the dressing room? Just come out.
Boys are okay. Again, in our dressing room, we never get too high, never get too low. There certainly wasn't too long of a conversation. We take the point, we move on with Ballymena now on Tuesday, and that was basically it. I thanked them for their level of performance, their attitude towards the performance, because there's always questions. There was a lot of questions last year about our performances and results against Glentoran. Even though we won the league by 20 plus points, we lost one or two battles along the way last year, of course, but we lost one or two battles to other teams, but it's always highlighted a little bit more when it's Glentoran. And at the end, what was most pleasing for me last year was we won when we needed to win, and we won where we needed to win, and that was the important thing.
Did we see again tonight why the big two is extra special? There's always something about it.
Yeah, there is, and again, I love these games. And again, the big man doing the talking there. I come here and I've seen so many games. I watch from afar the intensity of the game, and people talk about derby games. I love this game. I enjoy being in the league, and everybody talks about changes of calendar, what happens with Boxing Day, what's going to happen with the potential of not having the Boxing Day. I love coming to the Oval. They are getting a new stadium, and rightly so, and we look forward to, in the coming years, hopefully coming down to a new renovated Oval Stadium.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers.
Thanks, David. Good man.
And that Ballymena United Linfield game is live on the iPlayer on Tuesday evening. Isn't it great to see the Linfield manager, David Healy, happy, enjoying the game tonight? And why not? It was a cracker.
Very much so. I've got to pick up on one point that David said about Ben McMaster. This was Ben's first Big Two game, and I've got to say, over the piece, officials have come in for a little bit of stick, and quite rightly so. Everyone's held the account, whether you're a manager, a player, or a referee. But I thought Ben did tremendously well, and I want to emphasise that I wasn't being flippant when I said about consistency in terms of the penalty decisions. That was right. But well done, Ben. He did particularly well this evening.
And do you agree with David Healy? Linfield looked more like the side to win this game second half?
I think Linfield were more controlled in their possession of the ball. They had more control. We heard Pat Hubin saying in his interview there that he felt that Glentoran turned the ball over too many times, that they could have kept the ball better. So I think in terms of control and possession, Linfield were better in that area, and perhaps that's where David's making his point there. But I think the one thing about Glentoran that I noticed that is better, evidently better from last season, they've got a real threat, and they were happy to sit on at times, let Linfield come on to them and hit them on the break, and they always had that threat, particularly with Jordan Jenkins and that man Hubin holding the ball up. So Glens have got a good threat, and overall I think a draw was a fair result.
Okay, well, let's hear if the Glentoran manager Declan Devine is as happy as David Healy. He's with Gavin.
Declan, you lived every moment on the sideline. Can you sum up the emotions after that one?
Disappointed, really. Thought we started the game really poorly. Gave Linfield a bit of momentum early on, and very early on, and they probably could have had a goal or two in the first 5-10 minutes. But I don't think we really controlled. Our possession of the ball wasn't good enough tonight, and it's big two games. They're going to be frantic, and they're going to be hectic, and they're going to be 100 mile an hour. But it was crying out for a wee bit of composure. It was crying out for that first, second, third pass, just to have control. But I haven't reviewed it yet. But when I look back, I think we've got big chances. I think the one off the line. I think even at the end, they've hit the bar. We've went up the pitch. It was a bit of a basketball game at times. But I thought, our subs done really well. I thought they injected a real bit of intensity into the game and showed a bit of quality. I thought Jordan Stewart, when he came on, showed flashes and glimpses of brilliance. But overall, I would be disappointed that we didn't do enough. Just didn't do enough in our build-up play. But I genuinely can't fault the effort of the players and the commitment of the players. I need to see the penalty back again, because I think it's borderline outside the box. But I'll have a look at that over the coming hours. But listen, it's very early in the season to be critical. We're on a good run. We're on a fantastic run. probably a fair result in hindsight, but at the same time we know that we can play a wee bit better than that.
David Healy called it a great advert for the local game, is that fair?
It is, it really is. There's a lot of quality players on the pitch. David's got he's a fantastic manager, he's got fantastic players. We're a wee bit disappointed that we know we can be a wee bit better than that, but look, it's very early days, and I certainly wouldn't have any criticism for the players other than I know that we're better, and if we can move that ball a wee bit more purpose and a wee bit more patience, I think we can be more penetrative in the final third. But a fantastic atmosphere, our fans, real full house here tonight, and two teams really going at it, and I don't think myself or David will be able to look at the team and say, well, they haven't given us everything, because I think both teams did leave it all out there tonight.
Pat Hubin, man of the match, how big an asset can he be for you this season?
Look, it's plain to see. I think his understanding of the game, his experience and his quality are very high level. We had a change from our shape a wee bit because I didn't think we looked comfortable early on in the game, and Pat played a role up there at the end that he was magnificent at times, and his hold-up play and his ability to bring others on to play. Took his penalty extremely well, but Pat will be the first to tell you as well there's more to come from him.
Does it feel like exciting times for you in the squad this season?
Look, we're just trying to go game by game. We have players to come back. That's the end of Christy Patterson's suspension. Dylan will be back in another 3 or 4 games. Joe Thompson, as I say, high level players to come back in. But we need to get back in on Monday, and we need to make sure that we prepare really well and strive to get better week by week and week by week. We have a tough game next week. We cover well at the weekend. We get ready now to go to Coleraine next Saturday.
Thanks for your time.
Jump, man. Thank
you. Interesting here, just the difference, I suppose, in the mood of the managers after the game tonight.
Do you know, Stephen, I understand the principle of always wanting more. As a former player, as a former manager, you always wanted more. And yet from this viewpoint, I hope both managers go home tonight and reflect and be satisfied on what their teams did tonight. They worked tremendously hard. I felt there was good opportunities for both teams, and when they actually sit back and dissect the game, yes, there'll be things they will want to do better. You always want to do better. You always want more. But sometimes just take a step back and reflect and think, we did rightly the other night. We did really well, and I think from David's perspective and from Declan's perspective, they should both be very pleased and very proud and very content.
It's not often we get such a love in between these two teams, both very complimentary about each other tonight, aren't they?
It really is a rare thing. But
and there's me stuck between two Glen men.
Yeah, very good.
No, but I think Declan, I think he's saying all the right things. Glentoran went on a tremendous run at the middle part of the season, and I'm not saying they got carried away, but he seems like they're very grounded. They've had a tremendous start. There's more to come from them, there's no doubt about that. The players are coming back from injury, players are coming back from suspension, so he knows the squad's going to get stronger, but they're very much taking a game at a time, and the next one is a massive game for them too, away to Coleraine next week. And
briefly, David, shaping up into a great league campaign, isn't it? It's going to be good this year.
Absolutely fabulous. Glentoran, Coleraine, you've got Larne. It's going to be absolutely superb this year, and looking forward to see how the season rolls out.
Well, lots more football to come this weekend. We've got a full fixture list tomorrow. It's Carrick Rangers against Bangor. Cliftonville are at home to Ballymena United. Dungannon Swifts take on Crusaders. Larne against Glenavon. And it's Portadown against Coleraine. And you can follow all of that football tomorrow on Saturday Sports Sound on BBC Radio Ulster. Lots more live sport to come as well, because on Sunday we've live Women's World Cup rugby. France against Ireland in the quarter-finals is on BBC 2. And then 2 Irish League games live for you next week. Ballymena United against Linfield on Tuesday. Coleraine Glentoran on Friday. My thanks to David Jeffrey and Paul Lehman. We have enjoyed the game tonight thoroughly. The derby has ended in deadlock. From all of us here, it's bye-bye.